What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey episode number 166, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of the greatest league in the world, the National Hockey League. My name is Vinny Parisi, and the New Jersey Devils have the third best odds to win the Stanley Cup next year. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and I didn't even waste my time looking at what the odds were for the Chicago Blackhawks to win the Stanley Cup next year. They'll actually probably have more points than the Devils now that I said that. Frank, how you doing?
Probably astronomical, but maybe not too crazy. Maybe like 20,000.
Yeah, 20,000. Yeah, that probably sounds about
Probably
right.
not probably nothing like 100,000. Probably nothing like outrageous.
No.
They won't have the lowest odds.
No, yeah, we're going to rank our top 10 teams like power ranking in the second period following free agency and draft. I don't foresee the Chicago Blackhawks being on either of our lists, but I am ranking the top 32 for puckpros.com, and I have them all listed out right here. I have Chicago at 27. That's better than 30, 31, 32 like they've been. Spoiler alert for my article. I'm not going to give away, the rest of my stuff because I want people to go and read it when it comes out probably tomorrow. But yeah, the Hawks they're on the rise for sure.
100%.
So Frank, this is our end of summer show. Or not end of summer. Wow. What a dumb way to phrase
The
that.
beginning of summer, kind of.
It's beginning of summer in the hockey world for sure. It's about halfway through summer for most
dry offs. Like there's not a lot of talk about during the summer.
No, and Vladimir Tarasenko signed mid-show last week, and that was probably the last like big free agent thing that could happen in the free agency news. I do think over the summer there will be one huge trade. I don't know if it involves my guy Zegras going to maybe the Rangers or the Islanders or something like that. The Flyers have been rumored to be in on him. I could see Line being traded. I know he's only a prospect, but McGroarty from Winnipeg, World Junior Champion, he's in the rumors. I think one of these big moves gets done during dead season, and then the rest of them will kind of happen before the next season starts during training camp and whatnot. But we're going to take a couple weeks off after this week, kind of rest our hockey brains a little bit, return fresh and ready to go probably towards the end of August is what I'm kind of leaning towards, right as we're kind of getting ready for the college football season to get going and we could have our NFL stuff for everyone. So I'm super duper looking forward to it, maybe even sooner than that if some stuff gets worked out. But at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be away on Wednesdays, kind of recharging our hockey batteries. But I'm excited for what the future holds, Frank. We got a lot of great stuff coming with, my access to some of the media. We're going to hopefully get a couple interviews going throughout the weeks, and I'm stoked for next season already.
I just said the other day to my dad, I'm like, I really can't wait till October. Like, yeah, I want to enjoy the summer, but I cannot wait to see this Blackhawks team in action.
Yeah, it's going to be very fun. This Hawks team is going to be so good. So good is a stretch. I don't mean to like
so
overshoot.
Entertaining.
Very entertaining. Because I want to say
maybe surprising, maybe a little surprising.
Yeah,
hard to play against.
Like I wholeheartedly believe Hall will be stapled to Bedard as long as he's healthy, and then pick pick Tyler Bertuzzi or Teravainen. The other one of those two is going to be on the other wing. You could go Bertuzzi opposite Hall because kind of like the muck and grind kind of guy, and you could keep Teravainen with a second line, maybe a Nazar if he makes the team, something like that. Just kind of spread the wealth a little bit. And then, if they're down by one late in the game, maybe you load it up with Teravainen and Hall and Bedard all on one line. Like, that would be really cool. There are all sorts of different options for them coming into next season, which I think is what adds to the excitement for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. I can't wait. You have no idea.
It's going to be sick. All right, Frank, let's get down and dirty, putting a bow and cherry on the 2023-24 season in period number 1. Welcome to period 1, Frank. All right, this is going to be a lot of opinionated stuff, just stuff that made us feel good from throughout the season. Yes, VP looks naked without a hat. Yeah, isn't that crazy? But I got a
I'm
nice
surprised.
haircut. I got a nice haircut. I wanted to, even though on the screen it shows the wrong way. Like,
Well, it's mirrored. Yeah.
yeah, well, now my hair looks like dog shit because I just fucked with it. But I got a haircut and I was like, oh, I really didn't have a hat like close to me. And I was like, let's go naked, as Tom would say. But I do wear a hat 99% of my life. So that's why Tom thinks I look naked. If I ever went bald, I took good advice from my dad. And I feel like Tom does a good job with this too. Um, if you're bald, you can't wear a hat 100% of the time, and I'll tell you why. If you do, people won't know you're bald, and then you take your hat off to like scratch your head or something. You'll be like, "Whoa, I didn't know you were bald." No, you don't want that. So I feel like if I ever go bald, which there is a high likelihood, I think, because every male ancestor I have is bald. Um, yeah, I will at least one out of every 6 times going out, I'll probably go hatless. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Who knows? You might not. I don't know.
I think I'm screwed. I think me and Joey are screwed long term.
I think long term you'd have a higher likelihood chance of going bald. Yes.
Than most people, right?
Yeah,
But like
but it's I don't.
my dad was already completely bald by 29 years old.
Yeah, but is that hereditary though?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So I mean, you might not.
Maybe I'll hang on. Maybe I'll hang on.
Or does it get to a point where you just don't like your hairline? You say, "Screw it, I'm going to shave my head anyway."
Well,
Because
I would go all or nothing. That's just my
right,
preference because my hair's dark, and that's
yeah.
only because my hair's dark. Um, you know, I feel like if I had like with my hair being as dark as it is, if I had like the cul-de-sac and my big head, I just don't think there are factors onto why I'm all or nothing. My hairline has come up a little bit, but like
I think that's natural.
a lot of people that I know that are bald were bald by 30. And I don't think I'm going to be completely bald by um December. So, you know, it is what it is.
Think you're good.
We're good, Frank. You're doing all right with your hair too, clearly. Um who are your top 5 most watched teams in the National Hockey League this season?
We got the does, the Blackhawks, the Golden Knights. Those are the does.
Oh,
Because I'm always
those are the only does.
well. There's another duh, but it's like the third does the Dallas Stars. But it did just because G likes it. It makes it easy if we want to throw on a hockey game. It's an easy
Shut
choice.
up.
Throw on the Dallas Stars. So I guess
Shut
those are like the three does. I think if I had to name a fourth and a fifth, probably the Colorado Avalanche because
Ooh.
a lot of their games are still going on when the Blackhawks games are over. And I know you use that as a way to like some of the teams you watch, like the Oilers, because they're late night games. I just find the team so entertaining to watch, you know. Plus, the whole thing with Nathan McKinnon's home point streak made me want to tune into more of them this year and watch more home games for the Avalanche. So they're just a fun team to turn on. I find myself doing that at night because their games usually start 8 p.m. or later here in the Central Time Zone. And then fifth would honestly probably be the Florida Panthers, just because so many times throughout the years or throughout the year this year, I doubted them when they faced a tough opponent. So I would always tune in to watch that night's matchup, like if they're going up against Tampa Bay, and I thought Tampa would have a chance for an upset or like. Tampa would be the dog, and I'm like, oh, I think Tampa could really run away with this and beat this team. And there were so many times that Florida played those types of teams where I tuned in to watch the game. So I think it's the Florida Panthers if I had to name a fifth, to be honest with you.
Very interesting. Are you admitting to the camera that Florida cost you some money this season?
No, I just admitting to the camera that I was wrong about the Florida Panthers. And I doubted them. I thought they were going to stink. They proved me wrong, probably wrong, more wrong than they could have ever proved me wrong by winning the Stanley Cup. So it's just, they were just one of those teams, kind of like the Washington, not the, what were their team name in college football?
Oh, the Huskies.
The Huskies. Didn't sound right. Doesn't sound right to me. The Washington Huskies. I don't know why. It's just
Because
not
Huskies
clicking.
belongs to NIU and NIU only.
Yeah, for some reason when I say the Washington Huskies, it doesn't like roll off the tongue like it should. But I was wrong about the Florida Panthers, and because of that, and because I doubted them, I found myself tuning in to a lot of their games this season.
Understood, Frank. If it makes you feel better, every single guy on Spit and Chicklets predicted Florida to also miss the playoffs. I did not because I have a big brain. My big brain told me Florida was the President's Trophy winner the year before. They were in the Cup last year. What do you would you even think about not having them make playoffs for? So next time I tell you something, why don't you just listen to me?
Hey, I was
Um,
right about the Penguins.
you were right. You were right about the Penguins. Maybe not as right, but you were definitely right. Um, yeah, you were completely right. And I still, you know what's funny about that though? Have I learned my lesson? No.
No.
I was doing my power rankings yesterday, and I have them way lower than I want to have them because I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, but Sid, man, But back to the story at hand. My number one most watched team by far. I didn't miss a minute. And if I missed a tidbit here and there, I made sure I went back and watched it. I was 82 for 82 on the New Jersey Devils. That's my team. That's my squad. I don't mess around when it comes to my fandom of the Devils. I take it very seriously. I'm proud of it. I have a unique team that nobody else around me cheers for, other than my Katie now. Um, I take great pleasure in being a Devils fan. When they stink, it sucks. And this year was an up and down year. It wasn't a terrible year. What's funny, I think this is like the fourth or fifth most points they've had in a season since I started watching them. Um, you know, they
Hmm.
haven't been that good in the last 10 or so years, but they missed the playoffs. A lot of big moves this offseason. I'm excited to make them my number one most watched team again next year. Hopefully, there are
That's
more
the
than
duh answer.
that's the duh.
Do you have
There's
another
an
duh?
I think I have two. Actually, I think four of my five are does. And for you,
Okay.
maybe for someone who doesn't know me as well, two of the four might be a duh. The other duh I have is the Chicago Blackhawks.
Hmm.
Frank, I'm addicted to covering the Chicago Blackhawks.
Good, as you
They're
should be.
they're not like my number one team. I did that quiz yesterday too that like ranks your top 32 favorite teams because it goes through and asks you who would you
Yeah.
rather win, and it's like an algorithm and it's accurate AF. The Blackhawks, I did it like 3 times, and the Blackhawks they came as low as ninth in one of them, but I had them coming third in one of them, and I had them coming fourth in one of them. I love the Blackhawks. I'm from Chicago, born and raised. Chicago's my number one favorite team in every sport except hockey. I think it's the best summer city in the world. I've yet to go. There are a couple types of food that I've yet to go to other places and find better. For some reason, the Devils are my team in hockey. So every team after kind of varies year by year, but I'm
Hmm.
addicted to covering them,
Good.
writing about them, watching them for unbiased purposes. Connor Bedard, they were up there. I'd probably rank them third. I didn't because I was just saying a dull one next. But they were the third most watched team for me. But like I said, I'll never stop writing about the Hawks, talking about the Hawks. It's just a team I feel like I'm good at covering because there's not as much bias there. Yes, I would want them to win over just about everybody. Chicago would be great for the city. I'd be extremely thrilled for you, Tom, all the other Blackhawks fans in my life. But I think my covering them is where it's probably the team I cover the best.
Well, this is actually a pretty interesting question we got from the chat. Do you think Connor Bedard should be the cover athlete for NHL
Oh,
23?
he's a
I don't
billion
think it's out
percent.
of the question
He's a
just
billion
because how
percent in the
much
running.
the NHL markets him.
Yes, he is a billion percent in the running. I
That'll
think
be interesting.
I think one of the Hughes
He's a
could
top
be on
4.
the
He's
cover.
on the
Yes,
Mount Rushmore of
I think
candidates
so.
this year,
I think so.
but I don't think he will.
Not yet, but
Not
I
yet.
wouldn't be surprised. Um, the number two team's the Boston Bruins. I watch a shit ton of the Bees. I mean, when they're on and the Devils aren't playing, or even if they are, they go on another screen. I watch the Bees. I just I feel there's bias there. So, I'm not as good at covering them. I think I'm better at covering the Hawks than anybody. The Devils are probably 2 and then the Bruins are 3 in terms of my enjoyment of covering. But I love watching the Bees. Pasternak. It's my brother's team. I root for him. So yeah, it's the Devils, Bruins, Hawks. I think all three of those are duh to you.
Mhm.
People who follow me on social media or listen to the podcast, it might not be a duh for them.
I actually think the Bruins would be close up there because of all the games I've watched with your brother this year.
Yeah, oh, I'm
There
sure
were
they're
a
in your
lot. Like,
probably
I
in your
think
top 10.
if we took yeah, no, they're definitely in my top 10. They might be inching into the top 5 just because of, like, secondhand watching,
Yeah,
just being around him and watching those games. I mean, there was a time I went over to his house just to watch the Bruins game, so, I
yeah.
mean, there were many occasions like that. It'd be interesting if I had a total of the amount of hours watched for each team. Bees would be up there for me too, probably.
Next year, we should try our best to like total the amount of periods of each team we watch because I think that's a good way to look at it.
We should.
I think
I'm
I
gonna do
watched.
that.
I think I watched at least a period of every Bruins game. Even if it was just my eyes on it while the Devils are on. Like the bees are always on in every house I go to, every house I'm in. They're like far. I think the gap between the Devils and Bruins is smaller than the gap between the Bruins and Hawks.
But you
Like
you
wholeheartedly.
but you count 2 teams per game because 'cause you're watching that team too, right? If you're
Yeah,
watching the Hawks play the Bruins,
100%. You're
you
getting
watch
yeah,
3 periods of each team,
correct,
unless it went to overtime. Right, okay.
correct. Yeah, 100%. Um, my fourth place team rotates year over year, but this team has been my fourth place team. It's probably been close to my second team even in terms of minutes watched, but I think this year they were fourth. It's the Edmonton Oilers. I'm obsessed with the Oilers. They are my Western Conference team right now. I rotate Western Conference teams. Who's my favorite? Like nobody's business. When Zach Parise was on the Wild, I watched the Wild just as much as I watched the Devils. Like really, truly, just about as much. Um, and the Blackhawks are the hometown team, but right now those Oilers, man, I love that team. I love McDavid. I love Draisaitl. I think Bouchard's a stud. Ryan Nugent Hopkins is my favorite kind of hockey player. That two-way gem of a centerman. Love watching the Oilers. They'll probably be in the top 4 again next year. I think they're actually better right now on paper than they were a month ago because adding Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner to that top 6 it feels illegal because now in their top 6 they have McDavid, Hyman, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Skinner, Arvidsson. That's the best top 6 in the NHL.
Mhm.
There is not a top 6 that comes close. I like to think Hughes, Heischer, Meyer, Bratt, Mercer. They need that 6th guy though. If they get like a 6th guy that could be a 60-point dude, like if they traded for Nietzsche or Line or something, I think they're like in the mix, but nothing tops that Edmonton forward group. I mean, that is just unbelievable. Can't wait to watch them next year a lot. And then my 5th place team, it's not going to surprise you, but also I think there are obviously a couple teams in the mix. I'm sure not many minutes or periods separate my, 5 through 10. But at 5, I'll give it to the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. I think I watched them the 5th most. Austin Matthews, especially late with Austin Matthews with the goal chase. If the Leafs were on and he has a chance to get, number 60 might come tonight. Oh, number 62 might come tonight. Oh, he's got 69. I'm watching these last 2 games to see if he gets 70. I did not miss a minute of game 81 or 82 for the Leafs this year because Austin Matthews was sitting on 69 goals. He didn't get it. He scored his 70th in the playoffs against the Bruins. But it was a fun chase all year long. So yeah, I would give the Leafs that 5th spot.
It'd be interesting what team would be our least, because we've seen every team.
I've watched every team multiple times.
Me too. I think so. Um, Actually, I know so, because the Hawks play every team twice.
Yeah, same with the
Um,
Devils.
so I know I've seen every team multiple times,
Yeah.
but you don't really think of it as what team you've seen the least, because that's harder to pick out than the team that you've seen the most. I don't even know where to begin.
I have a thought on who it could be for me. And this team could be the most in any given year too. Well, not the most, but top 5 any given year,
What
but
is it?
because of where they are, I think Montreal. I
Yeah,
I, I just haven't watched the Habs. They don't have like that game breaker right
I
now.
agree. I think mine would probably be Montreal too.
Like I'm thinking of reasons I would have watched them that have nothing to do with um, you know, in liking the team. Like, for example, Washington is in my top 10 for sure. I didn't put them in the top 5 because I don't think they cracked the top 5 actually. But like, if Washington's playing and I get a note, here they come on the power play and Ovi has a chance. Oh, here comes 8:42 or whatever it is. Like, I'm throwing them on. Pittsburgh is in my top 10, I think for sure. I never really miss a chance to watch the kid. Um, and I love Malkin and Eric Carlson and guys like that. The Wild obviously are still probably lingering around my top 10. They will be even more once my boy Zeev Buyam proves he should have been the number 2 pick in that draft. We'll go number 3 because I like Artie. He was really nice. I like Artie. We'll go number 3 now. But they'll get back. But like, there was no storyline like that with Montreal. But if Montreal ever gets like super good again, they'll probably be in the top 10 for sure because it's Montreal. They'll be forced in our face. ESPN will have them
Mhm,
on every night. They're them and the Leafs are the meccas of the NHL.
mhm.
So like, I want the Habs to be in that top 10. Columbus probably gets a little it was probably a little low on my list this year because Fantilli got a little hurt. I was watching them a lot early and then I fell off. Same thing with Ottawa. I watched them a lot early. I fell off. Um I mean, I watch every team a lot early though. But like I just feel like I never tuned into Habs games because of the Habs.
I think so
Um
too. It makes sense.
and they're on at 6 right when the Devils are on. They're not they like I said, they don't have a storyline that's making me tune in the way Washington or, these other teams. For being an Eastern team, they only play the Devils 3 times as opposed to a division rival that's 4 or 5. Yeah, they're definitely near the bottom. I fell off Buffalo too. Buffalo was expected to come into my year as a top 10, and they just weren't fun to watch. They fell off quickly. They were dead by December. Kind of didn't have much of a storyline. Tage Thompson was a little hurt, wasn't chasing 50 goals anymore.
I
Yeah.
can't even say like the Sharks either because we watched the
No,
Sharks a
yeah.
lot together. Together, we watched the Sharks a
Yeah.
handful of times.
I
That
was
game
on the
ended up
Sharks a
like
lot
10
this year.
goals
Yeah.
we watched
100%.
together.
Whenever a team is chasing number 1, they kind of the Habs weren't chasing number 1 at no point did I think the Habs were going to get Celebrini. I wanted it because they would have Lane Hudson. Oh, I did tune into 1 month. I did watch the Lane Hudson NHL debut though, but that was game like
Yeah, but
83.
you watch we watch every team though. So that
Yeah.
doesn't mean like that's what I mean. I mean, it still
Yeah.
could be the Canadians.
Yeah, it probably is. But I did have one game I tuned in specifically for something relating to them, for sure. But
So,
yes, knowing Celebrini and Smith were coming to the Sharks could be a top fiver for me next year. Not because I love the San Jose Sharks, don't care at all about their wins and loss. Like I do, I like every team in that sense. But um, Celebrini and Smith being on the team, I think will
it's gonna
elevate
be
them.
a fun team, yeah.
I I I want to pick Lev Shunov or Buyam if he signs. The kid from who just signed? Someone just signed like 10
For who?
minutes ago. Their entry level deal. They were just drafted.
What are you
Um,
saying you wanna pick them for what?
Calder.
Oh,
I might pick. I don't think a draftee from this last draft wins it. Think about every Calder trophy. It almost you have to be a freak like Bedard to be 18 years old, come into the league and win it. Like that
yeah.
just doesn't. The Nate Dogg did it, I think. But like Heischer, number 1 pick, 50 something points, great year. Came in 7th for the Calder. Like, those 18-year-olds, you have to go like way above and beyond. I think a guy like Will Smith can win the Calder.
It's probably yeah, you're probably right. It's gonna
Like
be somebody not from the well, you never know though, I guess.
the only one from this draft I could see, there are 2. Celebrini, and then because Celebrini's sick.
Mhm.
But he's on the same team as Smith. So like we'll see. If Buyam signs and plays with Faber. If Buyam signs and plays with Faber at even strength and he's their second power play guy, like he could be in the mix too.
Mhm.
I don't think Levchinov plays much in the NHL this year. I
No,
don't think he's going to be
I
Calder
don't either.
eligible. He'll win. He'll win a different kind of Calder, if anything.
Yeah.
The Calder Cup, I think, very well could roll through Rockford if Kyle from Chicago is smart. Um, Frank, Who was your favorite player to watch in the NHL this season on your favorite team,
Well,
and why was it
I
Connor
think you
Murphy?
know. I think you know why I'm going to choose Connor Murphy. No, it was Connor Bedard, obviously. He made every game for the Blackhawks so much more fun to watch. I mean, this young kid is just, he brought a different type of energy to the team. And just over the course of one season, you really, really got to see Bedard develop into an NHL superstar. And that was only over the course of 68 games that he played. As weird as this may sound, it was almost like watching my child get a year older, and I got to see him progress over that course of 1 year. And I'm honored that he plays for my favorite team, and I can't wait to see what hardware follows him throughout his NHL career. It's just a joy to watch, man.
You only get one chance at the Calder. So
Yep.
the guy who, if you win it, like good for you. And there have been other like super elite players that come as the number one pick and don't win it. Rasmus Dahlin is one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. Jack Hughes is one of the premier superstar centers in the NHL. I mean, it's just not a lock to come in and win this thing. And Bedard did it. It really wasn't close. At no point did I think Faber or Luke Hughes caught him, even when
And
he was
it,
out.
like
Faber tied him in points the day he came back from injury.
to miss 14 games and run away with the Calder's impressive. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
And it was that 14th game he missed that Faber tied him in points, and then Bedard blew him out of the water the
Yep.
rest of the season.
Isn't
I
that crazy?
it really is crazy. I learned something about Bedard this year. When he was with the Regina Pats, I wondered if his goal scoring or if his playmaking would translate quickly to the NHL. Because the shot, I mean, a shot is a shot. That's why I think, like I always talk about Ovechkin breaking the record. Your shot is your shot. Like if Yager was scoring 25 goals till he was 44 years old in the NHL. But he didn't skate as well
Mhm.
towards the end. Like I was wondering about Bedard. Does he have to figure out his playmaking a little bit with the way he'll score 25 goals? No problem. I think he was just right around there with the injury. He would have blew past 25 if
He
he
would
played
have.
all 82.
He would have.
Um, but the playmaking did. It exceeded my expectations for Connor Bedard. What was it?
And he's only
39
18.
assists. He's 18. When he's 24,
Oh my God.
I
Don't
don't
even.
think I don't think like Jack Hughes is his floor. And like what? Jack Hughes could have 120 points next year. No one would sneeze. Um, he was on pace for that if he didn't get hurt.
And when he's 24, the Hawks will be cooking by that
Yeah,
time. They
yeah,
should be.
yeah. Like their second best player when Bedard is 24 might not even be on the team right now.
Mhm.
Like you just never know how this stuff shakes out. That's why I'm like with the prospects, like be patient. It doesn't freaking matter right now. Like be patient. But yeah, Connor Bedard's a great answer. On my favorite team, my favorite player to watch was Nico Hischier. I think the Devils captain is amongst the best two-way centers in the NHL. I watched Barkov all throughout the playoffs, and I kept thinking to myself, he sure could be like this. Like he was like this last year, and the points fell off a little bit. He started this year hurt. He missed 10 games from November to December, and like was playing catch up the rest of the way. Obviously, health is a big thing with the Devils as a whole going into next year, but he sure is just. I love the way he plays. When I have kids, like, of course, it'll be fun for them to watch highlights of Jack Hughes and Bratt and guys like that. But, like, the guy you really want to watch, if you're trying to learn how to play hockey the right way, and like you just don't specifically rely on talent because 99.9% of people aren't as talented as Connor Bedard or Sidney Crosby or Jack Hughes or some of us need to like find a way to just play the game the right way to play it well, and he does that. Is he as offensively gifted with his hands as Jack Hughes or his shot? No, but he plays the game the right
Mhm.
way, and he'll have 80 points instead of 100, but he'll be one of the best defensive centers, one of the biggest mother effers to play against in the NHL because he's got magical hands when it comes to stealing pucks and winning board battles, and that's the kind of guy you want to watch. Patrice Bergeron was
100%.
that same player. Barkov, Taves, Kopitar, Eric Stahl, guys like that. Those are my favorite types of players. That's how I think you should learn how to play hockey, unless you're one of these uber talented weirdos. Then you obviously, putting emphasis on offense and skating and stuff like that takes over. But, you know, I love watching Nico Hischier. He's just a marvel.
Yeah, I would if I had to choose a player from the Devils, it would probably Nico too.
He's just
I
Taves
like I like
reincarnated.
centerman. Right, and I Taves is my favorite NHL player of all time. I like centerman.
Same.
McKinnon.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
for
McKinnon's
sure.
another great big
Yeah,
I'm a centerman type of guy.
yeah. You know who like secretly plays a similar game to Hischier and nobody realizes it because he scores a lot more is Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews' defensive game, I think he could have 130 points if he ignored the defensive side of the game. I really do. I think 80 goals could be in for Matthews if he wasn't so committed to his defensive
But
game.
I think that's what makes him so good. You don't want him to not be
No,
committed, right?
I couldn't
It's like,
agree more because the Leafs have enough problems defensively as it is. But
yeah.
it's hard to score against them when Austin Matthews is on the ice because he scores a shit ton of goals, but also it's very hard to create a forecheck when a centerman like him is on the ice. And I feel the same way about Hisha. I wish he could score 69 goals, but I'll take 29. I'll take 39, Nico. Like, give me that. I think he had 26 last year with that injury. He's a bank for 30 goals over any 82 game stretch. And we appreciate that. My favorite player on the Devils. Frank, who was your favorite player to watch on a division rival?
This was a fun answer because it was between two. I was going back and forth. It was
How do you
between
think I feel with the Metropolitan being my division?
and then you really start to think about all the teams in your division, right? The Metro for you and the Central for me. It's like, wow, there's a lot of good players in here. It's hard to pick one. I was flip flopping between Roman Yossi and Nathan McKinnon. And then I leaned more towards Nathan McKinnon because much like McDavid, he makes hockey look so easy and natural, right? And the Blackhawks play him 4 times a year, so I get to naturally watch him a lot. And the Colorado Avalanche were one of my most watched teams this year, so it was just he's just got so much heart when he's out there on the ice, and he's always looking for ways to get teammates involved, and he's just got this great competitive attitude. He's just so much fun to watch. And Roman Yossi, on the other hand, he's a close second because I think Roman Yossi is my favorite Nashville Predator of all time. As much as I dislike the Predators, there's just something about Roman Yossi that I love. Great leader. Um, but yeah, I lean towards Nathan McKinnon because it's just silky smooth when you watch him. It really is.
I couldn't agree more. I thought Kale McCarr was going to be in your conversation.
He is, and then you got Kale
Yeah,
McCarr, and you got.
yeah,
Then I thought like Ottinger was fun to watch this year. He had one of the best years of his career, and it's like, oh my god, you go up and down these teams, and it's just like, who do you choose?
yeah.
Honestly,
No, it's
but
hard
then
because
but then I lean towards centerman, like I said, and I go with McKinnon, and it's I don't know. There's just something about his game.
absolutely. I mean, you got McCarr, you got Hellebuck, you got Yossi, you got McKinnon. Rantanen's going to the Hall of Fame. Like, that guy's in the division. Central actually might be the new wave
And then
Metro
and
with
then you
that.
got like new guys coming to the Central, like Stamkos and Marchessault and Brady Shea, and like you got like Nashville stocked up, and
Oh,
the
the Central's the best division in the NHL by far.
Jason Robertson. We didn't even mention him.
Yeah,
I think he had a little bit of an off year, but I think he'll rebound a
for
little
his
bit. But
standards, yeah.
yeah, so it's like there's just so many players on this freaking in this division. It's hard to choose.
Yeah, it is hard to choose. Um, for me in the Metro, it came down to two guys, Crosby and Ovechkin. I mean, it's
It's
been the
tough.
answer. It's been the answer for 20 years. I think in most years I would pick Crosby. Crosby's probably my second favorite player ever behind Zach Parise. Maybe third. Brodeur is in the mix too. But like Sidney Crosby has been that guy for me for a very long time. I used to watch Pittsburgh as much as I watch Edmonton because I kind of get the same feeling. I think Edmonton makes me feel my Pittsburgh feelings from 7, 8, 10 years ago. But Crosby's the guy. I would pick him in most years. I picked Ovechkin this year though because of how close. I mean, we'll see how next year goes. But yeah, Frankie's just mad. I mean, I was reminded, by the way, not by myself too, because I saw a graphic on the TV. I was watching a baseball game. It was something to do with home runs, And it just hit me. We went through this same exact thing in baseball on this show. You trying to tell me that Albert Pujols wouldn't hit 20 more home runs with like 20 games to go in his second to last season? And that guy announced he was done. He had a deadline to get it done.
Yeah,
Ovechkin's got unlimited time. That's why I'm like, okay, history's on my side here.
you're right. I'm definitely the underdog here, but I sticking with it.
You have to. You have Frank.
I would never flip.
Frank, if he scores 41 goals on opening night and the Capitals win 43-2, you still can't. You
No,
still
I'm not
can't
flipping.
tell.
I will never flip. Because I just feel like it's easier because there's so many X factors that could happen, right?
Oh yeah,
Like there's so many things that could like in order to get it, you got to stay healthy and you got to stay perfect. And it just seems like a
mostly.
lot and it just seems like life like you just has the advantage here. It's like easier to back him not getting it because of how crazy some things could like happen in life. It's just like I feel like even though it's the underdog and he's probably more likely to do it, say like according to odds and stuff, I just feel like the X factors of life is the favorite in the end. It's like you got to be perfect. All this has to happen um perfectly, and I don't know. It just seems like backing him not to do it is just. I feel like there's better odds in that sense. I don't know. It's just my logic here, and I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not backing down.
The
I'm
day
not.
we, if it does happen, the next podcast, I think it'll go down as the greatest episode of Bardown of all time. My plan is to have every member of the Barroom Network appear on the show and like talk to you about it. I'm gonna do the least amount of talking I've ever done on a show on that
That's
show.
fine.
Um, it should be it'll be fun watching the chase. I think you agree with that. It's
Yeah.
good content for the show. The fact that we're both on differing
Uh
sides.
huh.
Um, when he had 8 goals on Christmas, I wasn't ready to flip. I was ready. I was getting ready to come on and say it's going to take longer than I thought. He's going to have to like muck and grind to get it done in 4 years. Then he rattled off 25 goals from January to
Strong
May.
second half.
Like
Strong second half.
understatement. If he had
Yeah.
that same first half and had 50 goals again, we'd be talking like 20 something more to get the record, and like I'd be ready to lock it in by January of next year. But I think if he doesn't break it next year, we're probably talking, and he still has like a pretty good year. We're probably talking late October, mid November the following year. But he could go 10-10-10-10, or he could go 20-20, or he could go 30-10. Like there's a couple ways to go about this here that all seem realistic. Um,
Yeah, you're right.
and Ovechkin's Russian, so there's always the worry about going back to the KHL. But is he like, is
That's
he
another
the
X factor I talked about.
is he the least Russian of all time though?
He'd probably be the least likely to go back to the
Like
KHL.
just pull a
But
Kovalchuk, like no shot on that.
there is that those options though, right? So it's like those are the X factor options I talk about that like it's
Yeah.
easier to side with going against it because there's so many things that could happen that could prevent him from getting it.
Well, I made that sheet that I sent you when he scored 500, and he was like 31 years old at the time,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm as hard on it as I am, because this isn't new. This conversation being in my life. I started it when he scored 500, because who the hell scores 500 at 31? Like
Matthews will.
Matthews will, if he stays healthy. He's actually, I'm getting close to making a declaration about him on the show
I
that'll just
think he's
make
more like
you
I could get behind that. And
Frank.
I know you're gonna roll your eyes a sigh
No,
of
I'm
like,
not rolling your eyes that he could do it. I'm rolling my eyes at saying it's more likely than Ovechkin. Ovechkin has played more than 75 games basically every year of his career.
right now I would say neither, right?
Here,
Because like
here you,
Austin Matthews is young, he could get injured. There's a lot of
he's
there's
also been injured.
right.
Like Ovechkin hasn't ever.
But
Like
Ovechkin also didn't have a
ever.
70 goal season almost.
No, No, he just
It
kept
wasn't
pumping
one
out 50
set.
burgers. It was
Yeah.
50, 50, 50,
See, if
50, 50,
Matthews could pump
50.
out 60, 60, 60, that's like
But I think Matthews with his injury, and he kind of has a bad
that's the
wrist.
only thing.
He
That's the
has a
only thing.
bad wrist,
Yeah.
and that wrist has bothered him in 2 of his 6 seasons now. I see Matthews going 60, 40, 30, 60, 50, 40, 30, 50, 60. And it's just a little more inconsistent. I think I would take the 50s all the way through no matter what with
Well, yeah.
Ovechkin. But
I mean,
listen, I would push harder for Matthews even if it came down to it 10 years from now. Like, that's Austin Matthews, dude. Like, he's American. Like, it would just be so great if he broke Ovechkin's eventual record, or Gretzky, depending on the result of this, or even if he just joined the 800 club, because he's really him and Pasternak are the only ones that could realistically score 800. Pasta has more goals in fewer games than people realize. He's like right there with Matthews. Nobody talks about it. But I think the way Pasta scores, it might not age as well as a Matthews. Um, but we'll see. Pasta's elite, super elite as well. All right, Frank. Now you could pick any player from around the league that you enjoyed watching the most.
yeah, this is may or may not surprise you. I don't think you would guess that I would say this player. Um, I think maybe eventually if you had like 20 or 30 guesses, but I don't think if within like 5 or 10 guesses you'd get it. But I wanted to give some love to someone who made me jump out of my seat many times this season on many different occasions this year. That's Sam Reinhart. Some
Ah,
some of the goals that he scored this year or even contributed on were jaw dropping. We talked about some of his goals on the show and some of his playmaking abilities to lead to certain goals. They were just outstanding. And there were times where was watching Sam Reinhart and I actually got up off the couch and stood up and like was what the heck was that? Like he had 57 of them too. He was the second leading goal scorer in the NHL this season. So I mean, he had his fair share. Very fun to watch. Every time he was on the ice, it felt like the Panthers had an X factor out there, which they did. He played a big role in the Panthers' success this year. And I think when you think of players who define the 2023-2024 season as a whole, Sam Reinhart's name is going to come up in conversations for years to come.
Frank, that is a wonderful answer. I was trying to think outside the box too because, like, I was Zach Parise. Like, obviously, though, like I was kind of just wanted to give some love to a
Mm-hmm.
player who might not get the recognition that everybody else gets because of whatever reason. So like, yeah, I could say Connor McDavid. Love watching Connor Kale. I
Too
could
chalk.
Quinn Hughes because he's one of the Hughes brothers, and Luke and Jack play for my favorite team. Um, I came up with two. Actually, I really did debate between three, and I'll pick one, but I'll give an honorable mention to the other two. My one that I was going to bring up was Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov.
Mm-hmm.
Kirill Kaprizov. He kind of got off to a slow start too. He ended
Mm-hmm.
with 96 points. He has a strong start, and he's well over 100. He's been over 100 many times in his career. One of my bold predictions is that the Wild get back to the playoffs next year. I like their team.
I don't think it's a
Um,
terribly bold prediction, though.
no, and it's obviously only July. I might feel very differently
Mm-hmm.
if something happens between now and then. They are still cap strapped, 15 million against the cap because of Parisi and Suter's buyouts for one more year. When that money comes off the books, if they're able to like try and pay for a Draisaitl or something like that, I think the Wild make shrewd moves like that. I think next year they could go from being a playoff contender, might miss, might make it, to a Stanley Cup contender. Like, I wholeheartedly
Mm-hmm.
think if you combine like a super talent like that, Draisaitl, or God, imagine like a McDavid. And then you surround it with Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Buyam, Faber. I mean, the Wild are building a roster. I think they need long-term goaltending solution, but for one more year, Gustafson and Marc Andre Fleury might be able to hold the fort down after kind of a medium year for both of them. But I really like watching Kirill the Thrill. He is a
I like.
magnificent player. Um, analytical darling, right? People love his underlying statistics besides just points, goals, whatever. That's exciting. Um, and I'm a little biased towards the Wild. I always will appreciate and love the Wild, but Kirill Kaprizov, one of my favorite players in the league to watch. I plan on watching him a shit ton next year. Two other players I was going to mention that were kind of in the conversation. I was going to bring up Braden Point. He had 90 points.
Mhm.
No pun intended. Braden Point gets overshadowed because he's on that team of just superstars. He's played his whole career with Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, Vasilevsky, even guys like McDonough, who was a star in the league for a long time. Now he's back. He's going to be in a much lesser role, I think, than before, even though they did get rid of Sergachev. So maybe we'll see if he gets right back up there with McDonough. Braden Point's one of the best centers in the NHL. When we do our top 10 centers at the end of the summer leading into our next season, I think Braden Point will make the list for both of us. He's one of the quietest superstars in the NHL. And I'm excited that he's in the league. I'm excited to see how he plays with Gensel or if he gets a crack at Kucherov. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes with Stamkos being out of the building. We'll see if Braden Point can take it to a whole new level. I was also going to bring up Robert Thomas. I have a little bias towards Robert Thomas. We met his family the night he was drafted. They were sitting right in front of us until he was drafted 18th overall. Then they got up and went and partied probably. But Robert Thomas, 86 points, St. Louis Blues. We're going to see Robert Thomas a lot this year in person, I think, because I'm going to try to make my way to the Pfizer Forum to watch them play
Yep.
watch the Blackhawks play the Blues in the preseason home away from home. The official email for that went out yesterday, so I'm
We just
super
got it. We got
hell
it.
yeah, I'm super stoked about that. Um, that should be a lot of fun. And then they'll play in the Winter Classic, so he'll be on the national stage there too. Robert Thomas is truly one of the best players in the league.
Hawks
He
Blues got a lot of special games this year.
They do. They do. Two big ones where I think
Yeah.
people will want to tune in. The Winter Classic obviously will be on a national level, but I think people in the Lou and Chicago will be interested in that game at the Pfizer Forum. That's going to be so fun.
I can't wait.
That's hockey purity. That's growing the game right there.
Uh-huh.
Taking two teams from the Midwest and having them play in another major Midwest city that doesn't have an NHL team. That is hockey in its purest form. Hell
They
yeah,
could be
let's
doing
go.
that to like market, like see how the marketing there is in Wisconsin too,
Yeah, and the
for like an
Milwaukee
expansion.
Admirals. Don't you remember when we were there? The Milwaukee
Yeah.
Admirals played down the street, and they have like a
Yep.
decent
We
following.
thought about going.
If it were up to me, we would have. Yeah, I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
Um,
I was all for it.
um,
That was fun with
trust
me.
me, I know that too. I know where
Yeah.
my sports people are, like at all times. Because sometimes if something ever gets boring or like, I know I go find my sports people. That's always
Mhm.
a way to make life better. Um, but yeah, Robert Thomas, great player. Can't wait to see what he's got next in the bag of tricks. I think he could be a 100-point player. I mean, he was a first round talent for a reason. If this is his peak, he's still a damn good player that deserves recognition. I feel the same way about Braden Point. Kirill the Thrill's my pick overall. All right, Frank. 3 favorite moments from the 2023-24 season.
A lot of these probably won't surprise you. Maybe one will.
They don't have to relate to your team. They don't have to be for any other reason other than it made me feel good in that moment.
Yeah. So the first one is Connor Bedard making his NHL debut against Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, a player that Connor Bedard idolized growing up. It had the perfect storyline. Getting to see Connor Bedard make his debut, the second those feet touched the ice and the puck dropped, completely altered the course of the Blackhawks organization. It's something I'm never going to forget and probably could be a top 10 Blackhawks moment of all time. Um, so yeah, that was sensational. Like I was waiting all summer after he was drafted first overall for him to make his debut, and then it came finally. Put a big smile on my face, locked in. It was fantastic. Second, um, I don't know if this counts, but it was technically part of this year. It was Bedard winning Rookie of the Year. We all
Yeah,
knew
that
it was
counts.
coming. We all knew it was coming, but I watched the NHL awards as a dedicated Blackhawks fan, anticipating that moment because that moment only comes around once in a career, and it might not come around for some players, no matter how good you are. It didn't come around for McDavid, and look how good he is. If you don't win it your rookie year, you'll never have a chance to win it ever again. So even though there was no anticipation because it was more than a lock than anything I could probably think of in life, it was really cool to finally see it being made official. It was just like I was standing up watching the awards, gave them a big standing ovation, even though I knew it was coming. Great moment from this year, and a moment we're never going to see again because you can only win it once.
You can only win it once, and it did feel a little different than 30-year-old Artemi Panarin winning it too.
Oh yeah, completely different. Not even close. Like, yeah, I was pumped for Panarin, but this was different. This
Yeah,
this was a special moment.
for sure. And listen, I'm not ripping on Panarin. He was 24. Okay, the oldest you could be is 26. Kaprizov won it as a mid 20. I think
Mhm.
it's unfair. I think the age limit is a tad bit too high. When I think of the Calder Trophy, I think of like
Young. Yeah.
young. Like 24 is young, young, young. That's 5 years younger than I am right now, even. But like, it's like Panarin, Kaprizov. They played in the KHL for like 6 years already. Like, that's pro hockey by every definition of the word. I think St. Petersburg would mop the floor with the AHL Calder Cup champion. I used to not think that, but I do now. I like wholeheartedly think, and maybe not mop the floor. They would certainly mop the floor with the worst team in the AHL. Like, you know how people say like, oh,
Mhm.
would Alabama beat the Browns, or when the Browns used to be really bad?
Yeah.
Like, no, they wouldn't. The Browns would smoke them. I wholeheartedly believe they
Mhm.
would destroy them.
I agree.
Um, in hockey, minor leagues versus other pro leagues besides the NHL, I think it's much closer. Like AHL, KHL, both considered pro hockey. I think the AHL is more for developmental purposes, where the KHL you're trying to compete. That's like,
Mhm.
you know, that's it. But yeah, I agree with you, Frank. Those are three really solid moments.
I only gave 2,
Oh, you
but
only gave two?
yeah,
One more.
the third one doesn't have to do with the Hawks at all. But
Hell yeah.
and it wouldn't be like this every year. It's all dependent for this last one, but it was the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. Before the season started, if you would have asked me if the Panthers won the cup, I'd probably say I don't care if they win it or not. I really wasn't rooting for the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. However, once they got into the playoffs and all my teams I wanted to win were out, I thought it would have been cool to see them win their first ever Stanley Cup championship in franchise history. Paul Maurice finally won the Stanley Cup. That put a smile on my face. There were just so many people on the team who got to lift the cup for the first time. It was cool to see Bobby Lou getting a finally. Like, it just, there was a lot in the whole Panthers winning the cup, that there were a lot of first and a lot of emotions tied to this. If the Blues won the cup this past year, I wouldn't be saying the Blues winning the cup is one of my highlights of the year because we've seen it. I'm not a big fan of the Blues. So the Panthers winning, it just felt more special. Them not being one of my teams, it just felt like a special moment because there probably aren't that many teams who aren't my team who I'd be saying this for. But it hit differently because of all the first, and it was a lot of fun, and a great series it ended up being with the Edmonton Oilers. It was very entertaining for me. You might not have the same feeling. I know you wanted the Oilers to win really bad. I know you're happy for the Panthers, but yeah, it was a very interesting and fun moment. Cool moment.
Very good, Frank. Katie points out I can't count. That is correct. I'm not a math guy. How many times do we got to say it on the show? Not a math guy. English major for a reason. English for the win. And I'm not even really all that good at English. I speak gibberish way better. Um, Frank, those are three great moments. Three moments that I will remember forever. Um, for me, the first one that popped in my head immediately when I wrote down that bullet point was I love the New Jersey Devils, so I had to pick one moment from them.
Mhm.
And the big one for me was the Stadium Series. That was one of my favorite hockey days I've ever had. And I've had a bunch. I'm not trying to brag. if you put forth the best effort to have a good hockey relationship with hockey, you will have one. I I I go out of my way to have these great hockey moments. Um, and one of them was the Stadium Series game in 2024 between the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia Flyers. I woke up that day, got to MetLife Stadium, recorded a 4.5 hour podcast outside in front of the stadium, then went in the stadium, saw that gorgeous piece that they put together for the ice in the center and all the surrounding stuff with the Flyers orange and the Devils red, and it's Philly, it's Jersey, it's the best. And the Devils, Nico Hischier scored like 30 seconds into the game, and they weren't trailing the rest of the time. They got a big win. That win actually for the night put them in a playoff spot. They didn't make it in the end, obviously, but that win in the Stadium Series game put them in a playoff spot for that night, and that might have been the last night of the season they were in a playoff spot. But you know, it was a wonderful time. I had some of the best times with my girlfriend Katie. Sam Wu, Shorts Guy, Beer Baron, Scotty. It was just the most incredible outdoor experience you could have possibly imagined. And the Devils won. Um, it's funny. I am undefeated at outdoor games with the jersey I'm wearing.
Good. Wear a Hawks game to the or a Hawks jersey to the Stadium
Well,
Series
I might be
or
wearing
the Winter
I might
Classic.
I might be wearing a suit and a tie, but I can have my services for my undershirt bribed. At Vinny Parisi on Venmo. Send me some money to wear your favorite team's pin or undershirt or whatever. I'm taking bribes. I really because I would if the Blues won that'd be fun. If the Hawks won that'd be fun for me. Either way, I'm looking for a good story. But yeah, I'm taking bribes on what team to represent at the Winter Classic. Again, Venmo at Vinny Parisi. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's one of them. Love the Stadium Series. I believe every hockey fan should go to one outdoor game in their life, experience it, get to know it. I would like to make my way over to Columbus this upcoming season and see Columbus versus Detroit, Michigan versus Ohio State. That I would go as a fan for sure. Um, I love Michigan and Ohio, so I don't know who I would root for. Maybe Columbus, just because it's
Yeah, I
there.
would.
Just
I
because
would.
it's there. But like I love the Red Wings too, so it'd be hard to root against them. Speaking of the Red Wings, Frank, one of my three favorite moments has to do with the Detroit Red Wings this season. The game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings at the United Center. I want to say it was it February 21st or something like that. It was something along those lines. I believe from start to finish that was the best hockey game of the 2023-24 regular season.
It was a
Um,
crazy storyline.
it was a crazy storyline. Patrick Kane's first ever game at the United Center as a road member, and they also retired Chris Chelios's number for the first time as a pregame ceremony. And I think I've watched a lot of jersey retirements. I love being biased. I love telling everyone the Devils are the best and it's not close. I've seen the Devils retire two of their five numbers as a diehard fan. Stevens, Niedermeyer, and Danico, they retired those jerseys before I was watching every single game. Um, Elias and Brodeur, I watched the entire ceremony. I was as locked in as I am right now. Um, they don't hold a torch to the performance that the Hawks put on for the Chris Chelios jersey retirement. It was truly magnificent. I've seen the Sharks retire Marlowe.
Yeah.
We've seen all sorts of jersey retirements
The
over the
video
years.
package was great.
The video package was great. The way they themed it around the 90s, because Chris Chelios was
Yeah.
just so 90s. And even though I was only 6 years old when the 90s ended, I feel a connection with the 90s because of how much I love the music from that decade. And so that was really cool. Pearl Jam, Green Day, Nirvana. Like that's my music, I feel like, in a lot of ways. And so that was amazing. And then Chelios, he played for both teams. Hawks fans hated him, even though he really didn't have all that much control on leaving. But he went to Detroit, so it's the big rival at the time. I love the Hawks and the Wings, and I thought that game was great. And then it gets to overtime, tied at 2. And who gets on a breakaway but number 88, Showtime, Patrick Kane? And you knew the second he was on. And someone might ask me, hey, Vinny, as a Chicagoan, when you saw Patrick Kane start his breakaway, what were you hoping for in that moment? There was not a single bone in my body that didn't want Patrick Kane to absolutely freaking snipe show and see what the crowd reaction would be. And I got everything I wanted. Kaner scored. The Hawks lost, but the crowd went ballistic as
Yeah,
if he was still playing for them.
yeah.
And
I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad.
you couldn't be. You're like you're just being grumpy if like that made you mad in a year where they're gonna have the second least amount of points. Like it, if anything, it helped their path towards hopefully getting Celebrini. It turned into Levshinov, which isn't that bad of a consolation prize. And like you have Bedard, like there was no reason to like do anything other than enjoy that moment. It's an all-time NHL moment. You can argue that P. Diddy Kane and C. Dog Chelios, those are two of the five greatest American-born players of all time. They could be 1 and 2 in
And both
either
played
order.
for the Hawks.
Mike both played for the Hawks. Mike Modano's in the conversation, right? I think Joe Pavelski, he's probably a tick below, but like he's up there. There are a couple of goalies in the mix. But for me, I think Roenick finally in the Hall of Fame. Hell yeah,
Mhm.
JR, we love you.
Yep.
But I can't wait to see Roenick's Hall of Fame speech next
Th-
season. Can't get here fast enough.
There's also one detail you left out about that night with the Patrick Kane thing.
Well, Alex DeBrincat scored a goal.
No, but besides that, like that adds to the story even more. Like it's just like, do you
Go ahead.
remember what happened? Bedard had a breakaway in overtime and missed.
Oh yeah.
Like you have your best player, and then you have Kane on a breakaway. It was like, come on,
It
Bedard
was
missed the breakaway, and then Kane got a, and then you knew it was over.
yeah, it was like a passing of the torch in a lot
Yeah,
of
that
ways.
was like that
Like
just
here you
added it.
go,
Like,
kid. This is how you do it. And
yep,
Bedard had laid a big hit on Kaner in that game too, if
yep.
I remember correctly. Oh yeah, that game is right there for that would be one if I wasn't a diehard Devils fan and was there and all the stuff that like that
What
was
if
the
you were
best game
at
of the
that
season.
game?
I know. I wanted to go to it. It was a
Then
Sunday
you would
night.
for sure
We
put
were
that one
together
there.
though.
I thought so too. I think so,
Yeah,
right?
no, not we were.
I
You,
I was gonna say that, and then I thought, were we? Yeah, we were. We
no.
were in. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier in the show, but yeah, we were here, buddy Dylan, my dad.
yep.
Yeah, we were all together for that game actually. Oh, what a game. What a game. That's the best game of the season. And then Frank, we actually have one in common. I have the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup as my third favorite moment of the 2023-24 season. I wanted Edmonton to win so bad. I wanted them. I would have. It was a close game. It was an entertaining game. Game 7. It was one of the best games of the season too, especially with what it meant. 2-1 game to win the Stanley Cup. Like that's how Gary Bettman hopes every season ends. But like I would have signed up for an Oilers snooze fest of a win, 8-0 McDavid hat trick in the first period. I would have signed up for that. Like Gary Bettman's biggest nightmare. I would have signed up for that this year. That's how bad I wanted the Oilers to win. And then right when the game was over, all of that desperation and desire for the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, it melted. And I'll tell you why it melted. And everyone who was with me probably knows this or was able to pick up on it. I was so happy for the Florida Panthers. I wanted the Oilers to win. I still wish the Oilers won. But like in that moment when they won the Stanley Cup, and I thought back, I remember where I was when they took Ekblad first overall.
I do
I
too.
We were at my dad's concert at First Place. My dad played live that night. We watched Ekblad get taken by the Panthers on our phones. I was probably 17,
I
18.
think you were. I think I was somewhere else.
Yeah, you probably were somewhere else.
Yeah.
I remember when Barkov went second, but it was supposed to be Seth Jones. Um, and it wasn't. And that was crazy. I think that draft might have been in New Jersey, actually. That draft was in New Jersey. I was at the Rock.
Hmm.
And Seth Jones, he goes fourth to the Preds. Both great players, but Barkov, they don't win shit without him. That was
No.
the best decision they made. I think in a redraft, Barkov goes second behind the Nate Dogg again. Both Stanley Cup champions. They That was Joey just put a comment. I remember when the Bruins took a kid from the Swedish Elite League, DP88. That's the Ekblad draft. That's not the Bark. That's the Ekblad draft. And you know who the Devils took in that Ekblad draft? They had their first round pick stripped from them for breaking the rules with Kovalchuk's contract. And then Gary Bettman felt bad for them, gave them their first round pick back, but made it the last pick of the first round, pick 30. And they took John Quenneville, who stunk. Well, it is what I said. We were talking about that and the Barkov draft. The Barkov draft was 1 year earlier. Yeah, we were at the concert. Our dad's show at that was for the Ekblad draft. The year before the draft where they took Barkov, I think the Devils traded out of 9 and got Corey Schneider. That was that draft too. But yeah, you saw that the trade, the big trade. It was it like August 1st or something? It was late in the summer. You know, I predicted we're going to get a trade like this year too. Matthew Tkachuk goes from Calgary to Florida for Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, and draft picks. And they have just been off and running ever since. The Forsling off of waivers.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Bobrovsky. Everyone's like $11 million for a goalie. That's ridiculous. You can't win with that. And then they drafted Spencer Knight in the first round 2 months later, and you're like, what is Florida doing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're setting themselves up for now and the future because Spencer Knight's a dog, and he's been great in the AHL, and they've just been seasoning him. He's probably going to come into the NHL a little over-seasoned, which is nice. That's a good thing. And they've just done everything right, and I was so happy to see them lifting the cup. It was so great. It was such a great moment. It's always special when an NHL team wins for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's always great too. Edmonton, they won a handful back in the 80s, and you know the Panthers never won the Stanley Cup. So that was also it was one of the it ended like one of the best series ever too. It was 3-0 Panthers, and then the Oilers won 3 straight, and then winner take all Game 7. Everyone and their mother would have thought Edmonton would have won, and they didn't. Florida did, and yeah, just a great ending to a great season. That is absolutely one of my 3 favorite moments.
And you know what I like about our moments is that the only one that really has a chance at happening next year would be like the Panthers winning the cup, but the other ones is like they're not going to happen this year because they're just, you know what I mean?
They're unique to that season.
They're unique to that season. That's what I like about those moments.
And if Patrick Kane scores in overtime against the Hawks next season, they're not going to be happy about it.
No.
Then it would
fun
be
ones.
It was fun one time. 100%.
Let's not make this a every year occurrence.
Yeah, like this is year 2 of you being on Detroit now. Like we don't hate you. We'll never say that. But like we're done with you scoring overtime goals and cheering about it.
Right.
But yeah, this is good stuff, Frank. I've enjoyed talking about the best moments of the season. What was your favorite storyline from this entire season?
I think one of the most entertaining storylines this season was Nathan MacKinnon's 35 straight home games with at least a point. And as we inch closer into the 30-plus game mark, he started to inch closer to Gretzky's record of 40 straight home games with at least a point, which back then, that was every single home game in a season. Now, MacKinnon had a chance to break that record because he had played 41 home games over an 82-game season. Plus, MacKinnon, like I said, he's so much fun to watch, and it was just so impressive to do that against some of the teams and goalies he had to face throughout the year along that streak. If I missed one of their games, which I obviously did, it had me checking the box scores every time to see if the streak would continue. I mean, who knows if we'll ever get a headline or storyline like this ever again, to be honest with you. And if we do, if it does happen, who knows how long it will take. It's not going to happen this season, you wouldn't think. So it was very entertaining, fun to keep up with, fun to talk about on the show, and something I'm going to remember for a while.
Absolutely. Very good. And credit to the Nate Dogg. He won the Hart Trophy. That was a little unexpected, and but I'm happy for him. He deserves to have. He's the type of player that deserves to have a Hart Trophy on his mantle. So good for him. My favorite storyline is absolutely the 100 assist race for Connor McDavid and Nikita Kucherov. I mean, these are two of the greatest offensive players from the last 20 years or so. And I'm just super thrilled that they both reached 100 assists. Before this year, only Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Bobby Orr ever had 100 assists. Those are the three greatest players in NHL history. And now McDavid and Kucherov, who are both probably in the top 10 all time, or at least top 20 for sure. They are now etched in history, and they both deserve all of the flowers that they got this season for how great they were.
I honestly thought about making that mine too,
Yeah,
and I had a feeling you would probably lean towards that, and because that's another one that got us talking a lot on the show.
it did.
I also thought about Matthews coming one goal shy of 70, the 70 goal chase. I thought that was a good one. I thought about including that. A lot of good headlines from this year, though, right? That like 2023, 2024, it's going to go down as one of the most memorable years, I think, in terms of storylines. The
I think it's
Hart
the greatest
Trophy
NHL
race.
season ever.
The Hart Trophy race was flip flopping that. We talked about that for a month. I mean, there
Yep,
was a lot that happened this year, a lot of great storylines, a lot of good ones to choose from. And I like what we chose.
I completely agree. I'm with you. Um, yeah. All right, Frank. What a great year. We're putting a bow on it. It was incredible. I loved every second of it. This show was fun the whole time. I thank you for all the work that's been put in. Um, it's not it's not easy to show up every week and do it with as much knowledge and you know insight that we bring, and we do it though. It's great. I don't think we fail by any means. Now it's time to look ahead to next season in period number 2. Welcome to period 2, Frank. My phone's blowing up right now. Michael Kopech just threw an immaculate inning.
Yeah, they won 3-1.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Does that scare you a little bit for game two?
No, I don't care if they lose.
No, but I'm saying like as like you feel like they're gonna lose game two because of the way they performed in game one.
I don't care.
I know that's not what I'm saying. I know you don't care if they win or lose, but I'm saying, do you think they lose game two because of how well they performed in game one?
Yeah,
I'm not asking if you care if they lose.
yeah.
I'm asking, do you think they just because like that's just how it goes, right? They had a great game.
No, that's not why. It's
Why?
because they're 27 and 66 and 39 games under 500.
Michael Kopech has stunk. I was talking to Tom about that.
You
We were
can
just
argue
talking about
he's
him
the
the other
biggest
day.
bust in White Sox history. I have 2 of his jerseys.
That's tough.
He was really good early in his career.
Yeah.
There's no arguing that, and he showed he could throw an immaculate inning in Major League Baseball. So that is like another frustrating thing too. The arm talent is there. Why does he suck? The
Happens.
walk-off home run to Berger a couple nights ago was the final straw for me. But yeah, they could. Here's the thing: the guy pitching for them in Game 2, he's so good. I picked him up.
Thorpe?
I also, yeah, I also picked up Feedy for today, and he had a pretty good game. No earned runs, 1.20 WHIP, 5 strikeouts, and a win. Nice little pickup for me today. But I picked up Thorpe. Drew Thorpe he's
He's
like
having a good year.
he's their top pitching prospect. Like he could be their cease 4 years from now if they don't f up his development like they probably will. Um, but yeah, all right, Frank. Let's go down like we do with our football teams. The top 10 NHL, the top 10 NHL teams based on power rankings following free agency and the draft. Now, for the fans watching, this has nothing to do with what you just saw last season. This is a power ranking of how you think the teams are right now on paper going into next year.
Right.
We probably each have at least one team that missed the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't. Do you have a team that missed the playoffs?
Yep.
I do too. Um, and we probably have a team that probably only made the list because of how they were on free agency.
Yep.
That's definitely something for me.
Yep. Yep. Our
You
list
know,
will be fairly similar,
they probably will be
if
fairly
not
similar.
identical. I'll go ahead and say they're probably identical.
Well,
Not
Frank.
in terms of numbers, but the teams, the 10 teams, I
Well,
think will be
kick
identical.
us off with number 10.
So it'll be like football. I'll do 10 and then you do 10-9 and I'll do
Yep.
9-8. Okay. Well, I'm kicking us off at number 10 with the team that didn't make the playoffs last year, and that's the New Jersey Devils. I really like what the Devils did this offseason. They finally got the goalie they needed. On top of that, they signed Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon. Those veterans will help Luke Hughes and Simone Nemec develop a little bit more. This Devils team, they have a great core, and I think they're ready to bounce back this year. They also signed Stefan Noesen, Tomas Tatar for some extra depth. I expect a big response out of them this year. So Devils at 10.
I also have the New Jersey Devils at 10.
Yep.
Frank,
There we go.
I
You're
think they could
betting
be as
for-
high as 1 by the end of the season.
Thought
They
about putting them higher, to be honest with
they
you.
are good on paper. There is no, and that wins you nothing. I'm well aware it wins you nothing. It's easy to make fun of me for saying the Devils and because they were the offseason champs again. They actually weren't. They probably had the second or third best offseason, um, or fourth maybe. There are a couple teams in the mix, but I really like what they did. They didn't get that top six forward. That's their big miss from the offseason. That's what keeps them from having higher. As of right now, Andre Palat is probably slotted to be a top six forward for them. You'd like to have him on the third line. You'd like to trade for someone. I would have liked Tarasenko. That would have been nice. But also, I don't know if Tarasenko's speed keeps up with what the Devils are trying to do. But he's definitely faster than Palat. So, you know, we'll see if they make a big trade. I'm sure they will. But I love Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier as a 1-2 punch. You can argue it's the second best 1-2 punch in the NHL behind only McDavid and Draisaitl. There are a couple other teams in the mix. I know Toronto fans probably think they're in the mix. You know, the Dallas Stars are certainly in the mix. But Hughes and Hischier, they are so different, but they're so good. And I think it's a nice balance for a top six. They also brought in Paul Cotter, who scored that crazy goal you might remember last year for Vegas where he like danced through a bunch of people, put it through his legs, and then roofed it. That
Mm-hmm.
was an unbelievable goal for Vegas last year. He's not going to provide much offense, but he's a muck and grind type of fourth liner that I think will play well with them. The addition of Brett Pesce is huge. Because you're going to get Hamilton back from injury too. People forget Hamilton went down in November and he didn't come back. And that's a 70-point defenseman from the year prior when they were in super elite team. So you're basically getting Hamilton back as a free agent acquisition. You're getting Brett Pesce. Brendan Dillon's perfect for the third pair. I love the idea of Luke Hughes playing with Pesce. Because Pesce's really good at defending off the rush and stopping passing lanes, which is a big defensive issue for the Devils last year. And then, of course, the big dog in net, Jacob Markstrom. They probably make the playoffs if they had Markstrom last year, and things weren't even really all that good in other areas as well. But goaltending was a big hinder. The fact that they were in the mix towards the end of last season to make the playoffs with Vanacek and
Good
Schmidt
signs.
and Dawes playing as poorly as they did is a good sign. And by the time Jake Allen came in and started playing well, Hughes was already done. Hughes plays injured if they're in a playoff spot last year, right? Like he probably
Yeah.
could have played, but he just figured the season's over. Let's get this taken care of now.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Allen and Markstrom, that's going to make a really nice goaltending duo next year. Are they set long term? No. But we'll see what happens with Markstrom and net. I do have them at number 10, and I think that could be the low end for them coming into next year. At number 9, I have the Carolina Hurricanes, Frank. I think the Carolina Hurricanes take a step back. I probably would have been in the top 4 during the regular season this year, but they do lose Brett Pesce now. They lost Brady Shea. They lost Teuvo Teravainen. Carolina's going to have to figure out a way to fill in some holes. Now they still have a really good team overall, and losing some of these guys, they're a defenseman factory. So you figure they'll figure out ways to keep pumping out good production from that portion of the ice. And they have Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov, and they don't have Jake Gensel anymore, but they've proven they'll trade for a guy like Jake Gensel. So I don't think Carolina's necessarily done with their roster construction, but coming into the rest of this offseason, I have them at number 9.
Our lists aren't identical, VP. In fact, I spoiler alert, I don't even have the Hurricanes on my list, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And I really like the Hurricanes. I hope I'm wrong. I think they're going to take a step back this year. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they make some moves.
That might be
Because
your
I'd
only
love.
flaw, that you kind of like the Hurricanes. They're probably
I
in my bottom 4 teams.
really, they're
Yeah.
just somewhat. There's something about them. Like I could get behind them. I could be a Hurricanes fan.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool.
Um, but
I like hockey in the deep
it,
South. They're just probably the Devils' like third biggest rival, I would say right now.
yeah, Definitely, probably, but it makes me sad I couldn't include them on this list. I'm a little worried for them, but like I said, I hope they prove me wrong. Number 9, I got the Vancouver Canucks. Last season, we saw what this young core could do. They got to the second round of the postseason. This team's coming off a division title. Quinn Hughes coming off of the Norris Trophy. Yes, they did lose Lindholm and Zadorov, but they did sign Jake DeBrusk to a 7-year deal, which will add to this young core very nicely. Other than that, this team is running it back fairly unaltered, give or take a couple players. Oh, and let's not forget about Thatcher Nemko too and what he could do. So very impressed with this team. I do think this team's going to do good things this year. So I got him at 9. Number 8, got the Vegas Golden Knights. This team took some losses this offseason. They lost Jonathan Marchessault, Chandler Stevenson. However, they did make some moves during the season last year. Noah Hannafin, Tomas Hertl, still there. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, still at the forefront of this franchise. This team's very talented. As long as they can remain healthy, which is something we don't often see from this Vegas Golden Knights team, this team shouldn't have any troubles getting into the postseason despite some of the key losses they had this offseason. Just got to stay healthy, but I do still really like this team in this core. They've yet to prove that they could be a really bad franchise. They've missed the playoffs once, but they weren't bad, and we've yet to see that out of this team. And I love their core they got. Got him at number 8.
I think I have the Canes and you have the Knights because I have the Knights on my ranking coming out tomorrow. I have the Knights at 11.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I would have had the Hurricanes at 11.
Yeah. So, um, and the Golden Knights are probably going to win the cup and make me look and feel stupid because that's what the Golden Knights do. But at number 8, I have the Vancouver Canucks as well. I hate the Jake DeBrusk contract. I'm just going to say it.
It's long.
I can't believe they gave him all that money for all that time.
It's lengthy.
They gave him a contract that like you might even like think twice about giving to a Stamkos at his age. I don't like when Vancouver does that. They do it all the time. They did it with Louis Eriksson. They did it with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They hand out these contracts, and I'm like, teams kill themselves on free agency day. And people want new players and they want fresh blood, but it almost never works out. Any Blackhawks fan that thinks Marian Hossa is happening again throughout the Connor Bedard era, I got bad news for you. Like that type of success with a free agent. Oh, Chara is a good example too. Like those guys are so few and far between. Like Tavares has been good with Toronto, but he didn't help them lift a cup. Yet we'll see if they ever do. But like I don't know. I just think free agency, you kill yourself. I don't love that move for Vancouver, but they do have Quinn Hughes and Pedersen, and I like Besser, and they have all sorts of good players over there. This Hronik, they signed him to a long-term deal. A lot of people shit on that. I actually like that deal because you developed him into being Quinn Hughes' best partner. He's their Devon Taves. Taves should be able to get whatever he wants from Colorado because he complements Cale Makar so well. He complements Cale Makar so well that he might even make Team Canada. Because why wouldn't Hockey Canada have a guy like that to play with Makar when he's zooming up with, Crosby and McKinnon and McDavid on, that type of play? If I were Team Canada, he would be on my roster for sure. But the Hronik, same thing. I like Vancouver. I think they have a chance to really be a contender in the Pacific Division. Number 7 team I just mentioned, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to consistently be one of the best regular season teams in the league because they have Austin Matthews, they have William Nylander. Mitch Marner's probably not going to get traded, right? I don't see that happening. And John Tavares, he's a good player now. I don't think he's a great player anymore, but he's a good player now. 80 points. Lacks a little bit defensively. Like it's not like his 80 points are different than Heischer or Barkov's 80 points, but I still think he's a very good player, solid contributor, number 4 guy on a really good team. I do like the offseason moves that they made. I just shit on Vancouver for giving Oliver Ekman-Larsson too big of a contract, but it's different. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contract with the Leafs I like. I think he revamped his game in Florida, and I think what Florida does and the way they play is a little what Toronto wants to have. So some of that might be good to bring in with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and then Tanev, dude. Chris Tanev, he was awesome with the Dallas Stars. and added some defensive depth to them. I think he's going to do the same thing with Toronto with guys like Liljegren and, of course, Morgan Riley. Toronto's going to be a good team next year. I have no doubt. If they run into the Bruins in the playoffs, they have no shot. If they play anybody else, I think they could make a run to the cup. It could just be one of those hot streaks where they make a run to the cup as long as they don't play the Bruins in Game 7. There's really nobody in the East that I don't think they could beat next year. The teams ahead of them that I have, even like, I don't think I'm not going to spoil any other picks, but I don't think it's a spoiler for either of us to bring up Florida. Like, if the Leafs beat Florida in the playoffs next year, I wouldn't be terribly shocked. I wouldn't pick them, but I wouldn't be stunned at all. And if Wool could play well, it's a top 10 team in the NHL, especially in the regular season. I have them at 7.
Well, now I'm interested because I don't have the Maple Leafs on this list. I forgot about them. I got to be honest, because there were just other teams that were coming to me and were flowing. Maybe I know the one you didn't include. We'll see. But now I'm very interested. Should probably have the remaining ones, I would assume.
You do know who I didn't include.
Probably my next team, maybe, that I'm going to say. We'll see. Number 7, the Colorado Avalanche. Do I love what the Colorado Avalanche did at this year's draft? Absolutely not. In fact, they probably had one of the worst drafts of all 32 teams. However, they still have one of the best teams in the NHL currently. Jonathan Drouin sticking around on a 1-year deal, and this team has the core to win a Stanley Cup once all their key players reunite in the fall. For sure, like this team's so good. Don't like their draft though, horrendous draft. But they didn't need to have a good draft this year to be good this. They didn't need to have a good draft to be good this year, and they didn't. Honestly, then if it's not that, then I know which one it is. Yeah, probably. Number 6, I got the Nashville Predators. I believe the Nashville Predators have had the best offseason of any team so far. They're able to lock up UC Saros, sign Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, Roman Josi, Norris Trophy nominee. They have Philip Forsberg. We saw the run they made at the end of the season to sneak into the postseason as a wild card and gave the Canucks lots of trouble. This year should be a turnaround season for the Nashville Predators, but they do have to make sure they could find the chemistry as well with these new players. It doesn't always come easy in the first year, but I think they'll get it done. Preds at 6.
Preds at 6. Okay, Frank. I think I know the team you omitted. I think you know the team I omitted. At number 6, I also put the Nashville Predators. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. Now, they made things a little hard on Vancouver, right, in the first round. But, like, Vancouver was head and shoulders above them, I think, in almost every way. Nashville they have the number 1 D and the number 1 goalie, which I think if you have those 2 things, you need a number 1 center. If you have those 3 things, you can be a cup team. I'm not sure that last year they had a number 1 center. I love O'Reilly. I think he's great. I think right now in his career, he's a 2. I still don't think they have that number 1 center because Stamkos is probably going to play wing. We'll see if he gets a chance at center to start the year. He just might. And maybe he will be great playing with Forsberg, right? But Forsberg's a winger.
Mm-hmm.
If Stamkos can't be that number 1 center, I'm not sure they're cup good, but they are damn good. And they will be good in the regular season. Because my big 3 for the goalie, defenseman, and center, that mostly applies to the playoffs. You can be super elite in the regular season. And, be a top 5, top 6 team. I have Nashville at 6. I love Brady Shea joining their defense. And Marchessault and Stamkos, those guys are going to make an impact. That's 82 goals from last year being added to their roster. I think there's a good chance that it elevates them to be one of the top teams. The Central Division could have 4 100-point teams next year. There's no doubt in my mind that Nashville could absolutely be one of them. They came close last year without those 82 goals being in their lineup. And then At number 5, I don't even need to blink twice. I have the Boston Bruins as the 5th best team in the NHL. Don't blink; they won't even miss you at all. The Bruins lost in the second round to the Florida Panthers last year. It is their second year in a row losing to the Florida Panthers, but I do think adding Zadorov and Lindholm will help them. I'm not sure how those contracts will age, but you know what? Do the Bruins even really care about 4, 5, 6 years from now? No. They care about right now when they have Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, and Charlie McAvoy in their prime. I admire the Bruins. They survived Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Tuukka Rask, and Zdeno Chara from retiring. They survived that, and they're still one of the best teams in the NHL year after year. I don't like their center situation. Elias Lindholm's not a number one, he's a number two. They need to find a number one center if they want to win the Stanley Cup. But I do think they could be a top 5 team with the defense core that they have and the goaltending that they have. Jeremy Swayman, adios, Bees fan JP. Jeremy Swayman's one of the best goalies in the NHL. They no longer have Linus Allmark to be that backup backbone, which is crazy to say about a guy that won the Vezina Trophy 2 years ago, but not even two like full years ago, like 1 year ago, 2 seasons ago. Um, but it's it's cool that the Bruins are still this good with all the loss that they've had. I think you go out, you get yourself a number one center. If the Pittsburgh Penguins are dog water next year, and I'm the Bruins, I'm offering 2 first-round picks. Uh, who's their top dog? Like prospect, the guy they just drafted this year that's going to BC. Maybe who's the kid that played in the World Juniors last year and got hurt? Matthew Patra. Start offering shit for Sidney Crosby and go win the Stanley Cup with Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby. I mean, that would just be an all-time great hockey story. It would almost be the opposite of when the Bruins traded Bork and then they won the Stanley Cup, Colorado, um, against the Devils, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, that's how I feel about the Bees. I have them at number 5.
I also have the Bruins at number 5. JP saw my blink. They were impressive last season after losing Bergeron, Krejci. They ended up silencing a lot of doubters. This offseason, they shipped Allmark to Ottawa, which is something that they should benefit from. They ended up signing Lindholm and Zadorov, which will be 2 upgrades at each of their positions. Plus, Swayman now not having to share the crease as often should give them a lot more confidence. Lift a weight off the chest of the coaching staff as well for the Bruins. This team looks pretty good on paper, so we'll see if they can capitalize there. Number 4, I got the New York Rangers, VP.
I'm stunned at who of my top 3 you're going to leave out because you already said one of my top 4. So that means one of my top 3 you have out.
I don't think to me, I don't know. I wouldn't think so. We'll
Go ahead.
see. But number 4, Alexis Lafreniere, Igor Shesterkin, they're due for new contracts soon, but coming into this year, this team should be still fairly pretty good. Rangers got rid of Barclay Goodrow to the San Jose Sharks, which is something the team was hoping to accomplish, which they did. They also added Riley Smith to this talented core of players. Their core is very similar to last year, besides making some minor moves. And you got Igor still in net. Rangers need to find a way to get over that hump that they can't seem to get over. But maybe some offseason changes behind the scenes will help that happen that we don't see. So Rangers at 4. I'm interested. Maybe
I
I
figured it
know.
out. You don't have Toronto.
Yeah, I know. I don't have
You
Toronto.
don't have Toronto and you don't have Carolina.
Yeah,
You have
I have your
Vegas.
final 3 or your
Yeah,
top.
you have my final 3. You have Vegas and the Rangers. That's the difference. We already figured it out.
Okay, yeah.
You have Vegas and New York. I have Carolina and
Yeah.
Toronto. Yeah.
The top 3 I could guarantee you are the same.
Yeah, for sure. My reason for leaving the New York Rangers out was because I don't like the way they're developing their young players. If Zibanejad, Kreider, and Panarin have a down year, they're toast. And they're all in their mid 30s. And it's coming. So, and I hate them. So that's part of the reason they're not in my top 10. At number 4, I have the Colorado Avalanche. I enjoyed rooting for them hard down the stretch with Zach Parise. I won't root for them quite that hard without ZP in the mix, but the Colorado Avalanche, man, like Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen, that's 3 Hall of Famers. We'll see if they can figure out second line center. If that becomes Middlestat, that's fine. If I were Drouin, I would have begged for 8 years. Like, I know you're not giving Drouin 8 years, but like that's the kind of guy I try to lock in on a short term deal if I'm Colorado. Because if he randomly explodes next year playing next to McKinnon, and then you got to pay him 8, like why would you want to do that? I try to lock him in 4 year deal, 5 mil a year right now,
Mhm.
um, because he played with the Nate Dogg in Halifax, and now he's in the NHL playing with him again, and he finally found us like a home.
Mhm.
I would want to be locked into Nathan McKinnon's wing for the rest of my career if I were Jonathan Drouin. I like Middlestat. I don't know if he's a second line center or if he's a wing long term. We'll see. They haven't fully replaced Kadri as the second line center. And Kadri might have not even replaced Kadri as a second line center after the year he had, the year they won the Stanley Cup, and he was one of the best 2Cs in the NHL. But right now, I still think they're worthy of being a top 10 team. I have them at 4. I don't see them lasting at 4 all year long, though. I don't know what they need, if they'll get it done, but things are starting to, I don't want to say unravel for Colorado, but they have a couple holes that they need to address, and they get 4 out of respect and winning around last year. At number 3, I have the Dallas Stars. I think the Dallas Stars are the best team in the NHL that didn't make it to the Stanley Cup final last year. They have everything they need, right? They have a number 1 center. They have a top number 1 Norris caliber defenseman. They have a Vezina caliber goalie. Um, I think what really separates teams sometimes is if they have that elite number 2 centerman and then a bunch of wingers that play really, really well with their centers. Dallas has that. I think Rupe Hintz is a dog. Jason Robertson is a beast. He had a down year last year by his standards. What about just normal being good at
Mhm.
hockey standards? He didn't have a down year at all in that sense. Um, the fact that they have 3 separate groups of players, they have the past, the present, and the future. They have the past with guys like Tyler Sagan, Jamie Benn, Matt Duchene. All those guys are awesome. Um, they have the present with Heiskanen and Robertson and Hintz. Those 3 guys are awesome. You could build a core just around them. Then you have the future with Stankhoven and Wyatt Johnston. They have no business being that good.
Harley.
And Harley, 100%. But like
I like
Stankhoven
Harley.
and Wyatt Johnston, those 2 guys have no business being that good on their third line. Dallas might be the only team with an Olympian on every line. Like they are that good
Yeah.
and that deep. And McDavid torched them in the playoffs. I wouldn't bank on that happening again necessarily. Like always bank on McDavid torturing you, but Dallas just they seemed to be out of gas last year more than anyone. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Ryan Suiters and the Joe Pavelskis. Great players, awesome all time. Suter probably plays one more year. I think Pavelski's done. Um, but you know, Ryan Suter's gonna being if he signs with a team, he'll be being paid by 3 teams. The Wild, the Stars, and whoever he signs with, which sign me up to get paid by 3 NHL teams. But I do think they get a little faster by replacing those guys. And Duchesne made a smart decision sticking around, in my opinion. Sometimes it's about where you fit in, not about where you want to play the most. I think to help get the most out of your career and helping a team win, Dallas is one of the best in the NHL. I'm excited to watch them next year. Also, shout out to them for starting a new wave in TV streaming. Victory TV, free for all people in the market. Um, the Cubs could learn a thing or two. I hope the Blackhawks are positively influenced when their NBC Sports Chicago contract comes to an end. And then at number 2, I have the Edmonton Oilers. I really, really, really thought about putting them 1. I think it's pretty clear what the tiebreaker was,
I
but
think
I
you're only
think.
supposed to do 4 and 3,
Oh, did I do 4?
but it's okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do
Um,
do 3 and 2.
um,
I mean, you know the top 3.
yeah, I mean, we have the same 3, but
Yeah.
number 3, I got the Dallas Stars. I can't wait to watch them again as well. They didn't do a whole lot this offseason that made the media go crazy, which they didn't have to because, like you said, they already got everything they need. They did lose Chris Tanev to Toronto, but they brought in Matt Dumba to replace him. They also signed some other bottom pair defensemen, Ilya Labushkin, Brendan Smith. This team just feels like they're so close to winning a Stanley Cup. I thought it was going to be this year. Preseason, I thought going into this year, this would be a year. They're so close. than ever before. They've gotten back to back Western Conference final appearances, and maybe this is the year they get back there and beyond. This team's so good. It really is. You nailed it on the head with everything you said about them. Number two, I got the Edmonton Oilers. The most important thing for the Edmonton Oilers is that they're bringing back the main core this season. They also signed 2 depth players to help their depth scoring out this season with Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner. The Oilers feel like they have the team to win the Stanley Cup. Depth scoring proved to be fatal at times this postseason, and this organization made it very clear this offseason that they're going to do whatever it takes to patch up any holes they have so they can make a deep run in the postseason once again. Oilers at 2.
I also have the Oilers at 2. I thought about putting them 1 because, like I said to start this off, it has nothing to do with last year.
Right.
Right? Like these are new power rankings. They are the
Mhm.
betting favorite right now on almost every site. The Oilers. I let the Stanley Cup be the tiebreaker here. But they did re-sign Adam Henrique and Matthias Janmark. I think that's huge because both of those guys added a lot to the Oilers, especially in the playoffs. Adam Henrique had 2 game-winning goals in the final. He's got 3 game-winning goals in the final in his career. He's got like 5 in the playoffs in his career. He scores goals in the most clutch of moments. I don't know what it is that makes certain guys score when the going gets tough more often. Janmark with the goal in Game 7 for the Oilers to get it tied back up. Obviously, Reinhart with the GWG later on. But, those 2 guys are important, Skinner and Arvidsson. Calling them depth scoring is hilarious because they are depth scoring in Edmonton. You're right. But, like, thinking about them as depth
I
scoring
know.
it shows an embarrassment of riches. I think Skinner, you can win the Stanley Cup with Skinner. He's a top 11, top 12 goalie in the NHL right now. When he stinks, boy, does he stink. But when he's good, boy, is he good. And I like the overall makeup of the Oilers. I think their 3rd and 4th line are as good as they're ever going to be. They no longer have McLeod, which will hurt their bottom half defense. But guess what, Frank? I cannot believe the Buffalo Sabres were stupid enough to trade Matt Savoie
Yeah.
for Ryan McLeod. Ryan McLeod's a really nice defensive center. He's a real nice defensive center. He'll help Buffalo in the bottom 6. There's no doubt he'll be missed in the bottom 6 for Edmonton. But can you imagine if Savoie hits? They traded a prospect that was 9th overall 2 years ago. And in 2022, it's not even like he has been a bust.
Right.
He's been great in his development. So the fact that Buffalo was that keen on getting McLeod that they gave up a guy like Savoie. Imagine if Savoie just comes to the NHL and lights it up offensively. Then Edmonton's even deeper than we thought, and that's very possible that happens. So good for them. I like them. They're my early favorite for next year. And my number 1 team is Florida. They locked in Reinhart. I think that's important
Huge.
for their potential going forward. Do I think he scores close to 60 again next year? No. Right? He'll probably have 42, 43 goals, which is fine. Florida, they have depth with Verhaeghe and Barkov and Kachuk. That's arguably just as good of a big 4 as anybody else in the league has. Forsling's going to be around. They still have Ekblad. We'll see if he sticks around. I know he was on the trade block heading into the draft, but the draft is over. They lost Montour, but they find ways. I'll say this: I shit on the Blackhawks picking Adam Boqvist 9th overall in 2018, right? You remember how mad I
Mhm.
was. Not a fan of that pick. And then they traded him. He was in the package that went for Seth Jones. Okay, whatever. He didn't really click in Columbus. I got a funny feeling. I don't know if he's Gus Forsling 2.0, but he'll have a spot in Florida. He's going to perform in Florida. He's not going to be a superstar. I don't know if again, Forsling 2.0. Forsling's a superstar now. He's like top 10 Norris guy. I'm not saying that's what's coming for Boqvist just because they're both Swedish and both had a tough start to their career and both going to Florida now. No, I just think Florida's going to find a way to maximize what he can bring to the table as a number 5 or a number 6 defenseman. Be the offensive guy on the 3rd pair.
Mhm.
right? Like that stuff is needed in the NHL. Both pairs should have a defensive guy and an offensive guy. I think he could be the offensive guy on their third pair specifically. And I gave them the tiebreaker as well because of the fact that Bill Zito and Paul Maurice are in charge. And
Yep.
I trust what they do. They're not shy to make a big move. Evan Rodriguez, awesome move, right? It just proved to be so necessary for them in the Stanley Cup final to have that guy. I think the first goal of the game of Game 7 was tipped, but Evan Rodriguez was the one who took the shot. He had multiple goals earlier in the series when they were winning. It's just a really good team from top to bottom. They got Bob. I don't know how many more years Bob has left of being this good, but I mean, damn, he's this good right now.
Yeah.
They're number one in my power ranking.
Yeah. Same here. Florida Panthers number one. It only feels right to have them as number one, especially after winning the Stanley Cup. They were able to re-sign Sam Reinhart, which was a big one. They extended Anton Lundell, another big one. Two key pieces, or two big pieces, I should say, that this team wanted back. The team has only gotten better each and every year, right? It just seems like every year they continue to get better and better. And you think, well, how could they get better? Well, they'd have to win the cup. Okay, well, they did that. Now they're even better than they were last year. Um, It'll be interesting to see, though, like you said, if Bobrovsky can maintain such an elite level the older he gets. But, until the season begins and I'm proven otherwise, they'll head into the season number one on my power rankings. And I think they're going to head into the season on a lot of people's number one on their power rankings. So
That makes a lot of sense.
we'll see if
I
Bob can continue to do Bob things. I think so. I mean, we don't know. Goalies, they're weird. They're weird each and every year. So you never know.
I'm with you. I I could see them being 2 by the time we get to September. I just think that highly of Edmonton, but we'll see. It's a good top 10 though. We pretty much nailed it, I think. Cuz I have Vegas 11 and where do I have the Rangers? Uh,
Oh, I
12.
know the Hurricanes were
I have
11,
them 12.
11 for me. Probably Toronto would be 12 for me too. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the Rangers at 12, Winnipeg 13, Tampa 14, Washington 15, Minnesota 16, Los Angeles 17, Islanders 18, Detroit 19, Philly 20. And then you got a preview if you're watching the show on my article. Read the rest of it tomorrow. How many teams do I have descriptions done? Um, yeah, I'm up to 20. I'm through 22. I have them all ranked, but I have to write descriptions for 23 through 32.
Hmm.
So happy
Cool.
Wednesday to Skylar. Skylar, come to the bags tournament. Find a partner. Um,
Just let me know by tomorrow. I'm making the bracket tomorrow.
seriously. Frank, we'll talk about the bags tournament amongst other things in period number 3. Speaking of Skylar, hell yeah. 9 more days till NCAA, even though it's not
Yep.
called NCAA. I can't
Can't
wait to
wait.
win. I can't wait to win 10 straight national championships with the
Early access
NIBC.
if you not yet, but soon if you pre-ordered it.
Is it weird I consider you a weirdo if you pay $70 to play the game early?
Well, you get other stuff just then playing it early.
Yeah, true. But like the big dog of it is to play it early.
I mean, I would.
You would?
I would
May-
probably.
Maybe I would too. But I'm a weirdo. Like
Well, I guess we're all weirdos.
hell yeah. Frank, what are your top 3 summer activities?
Um, Number one, swimming. I love
Okay.
to swim when I get the opportunity. Plus, it makes the heat more tolerable to deal with. 'Cause I'm not a big fan of the heat, so that definitely helps. Number two up there is I see. I don't know if these are in order. I'm just saying number two. But on my list would be going to an outdoor sporting event, whether it's a professional sporting event or even one of my nieces and nephews' sporting event. There's just something nice about going to one when I don't have to lug around a jacket. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my fair share of hockey games and going to the United Center, but there's just something nice about going in a t-shirt and shorts, not having to worry about carrying anything around. Just makes you feel more free. It's very nice. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a professional one either. And then probably third on my list would be having a good old bonfire. It's nice to sitting around a campfire, chatting a little bit with people you love, to hang around people you love. Yeah, I would have those 3 on my list for summer activities.
Very interesting. We have two of the three the same. My number one is swimming. I love to swim. I love going in a pool. It's refreshing. Grab a drink, chill, hang out. It's summer. That's the
Yep.
number one thing associated with summer is swimming. Number two is a darty. I love a darty. The bags tournament falls under the darty. 4th of July. Any day outside, drinking, partying, having fun, grilling. I love summer darties. And my favorite thing about darties as I get older is most people are ready to like calm down by the time it's 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and that's when you like either watch the fight or watch a baseball game.
Mhm.
That's Otani hour for me. Um, I love a darty, and the older I get, the more fun they become. To be honest with you, number three is the sporting event thing you said, an outdoor sporting event, outstanding stuff, baseball games, soccer games. One of these years, I'm going to go to a warm climate outdoor hockey game so I can know what it's like to like not hate myself while watching
Mhm.
it. Um, so yeah, excited to do something like that in my life. But yeah, those are my three summer activities for sure.
I like
And
it.
then um, this doesn't count as like your typical summer activity, but celebrating Katie's birthday, something I enjoy doing very, very much over the summer as well. August 7th, shout out Katie
Shout out to Katie
and you.
and Bedard.
Fuck Bedard.
It's got a cool birthday.
No, yeah, for sure. I love Bedard. I love you. I love July 17th. Um,
I like
you
that
want
I
to see
share a birthday with the emoji calendar.
if you could change sharing a birthday with Bedard or the emoji calendar, which would you pick?
Bedard. It's cooler.
You'd rather share a birthday with Bedard than the
Yeah,
emoji? That's crazy.
it's
That's
sick.
absolutely nuts.
Nah, it's sick.
Having the same birthday as the emoji calendar is so cool. It's so cool. And I've seen Bedard bring it up in an
Do you
interview.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'll try to find it. It was some video. I think it was something with NBC Sports Chicago. They were interviewing him, and it's like, "What's
It's
something
like,
you like about your birthday?" And he goes, "The fact that it's the emoji calendar."
yeah, like
Yeah.
I think it's cool that it's like something that's personalized to you that's not meant to be.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
sick. It's
But
sick.
I do think you should find it cool. Bedard is aware that he shares a birthday with the calendar,
Well, he'll be aware that he shares a birthday with me one day
for sure.
when we make it big together and we sit and chat. He's over for dinner. Oh, he'll
Hell
be
yeah.
aware.
All right, Frank, who's your early pick to win the bags tournament?
Me, of course. I'm excited. I think this is the best I've looked this year. I haven't practiced a ton, but the little bit that I have played, I really think this is the best we've looked this year. So we'll see.
Do you think I have a chance to win?
Of course.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I've come in second and third and fourth.
Okay, so why wouldn't I?
But last year, second, third, I think I've come in second, third, fourth, and fifth. Because
Just
last
not
year I
first,
definitely
huh?
came in like fifth,
Not first.
not first.
Well, there's a first time for everything. You looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. I want to win. I want to win badly.
You get to keep the bracket if you do. I think that's sick.
Yeah.
I think that's like a cool piece. Like 10 years from now, you could come out and look at the original bracket.
Yeah. Oh,
Because I
yeah.
don't know what it looks like. I get rid of that. So it's like, I don't even know.
Hell yeah.
It's like a
I
little
mean,
piece of memorabilia to get to keep.
absolutely. I don't even know who my partner is yet, though. So I probably should figure that out.
Tough.
That is tough. My partner's a mystery. Nobody knows. Um, nobody knows. Nobody's gonna know. All right, Frank. Let's wrap this bitch up. What are you watching this weekend?
So last week we saw a couple movies. This week I cannot wait to see Long Legs Friday night. Oh my god, that movie just sounds incredible. Absolutely incredible. It's a horror movie.
Hmm.
The next people are saying it could be like the next big iconic horror movie. The main woman in the movie, um, when she saw Nicolas Cage for the first time as Longlegs, her heart rate got over 170 beats per minute. That was the first time she ever saw him. Apparently, he looks wild. He looks crazy, very creepy. A feeling she said she'll never forget. And this is all for an actress who knows the plot, who knows what she's going into. But when she saw him for the first time, it made her heart rate get that high. This movie's supposed to be sensational, and I cannot wait. And then also probably going to finish the Echo TV show. We didn't watch it when it first came out. We're more than halfway done with that. Very good. It's the first Marvel TV show that's rated M. So there's a lot of, I mean, you see a lot that you normally wouldn't see in a Marvel TV show. So, and I've enjoyed it. We started it a while ago, and then for some reason we didn't finish. It's only 5 episodes this season. So I don't even know why we didn't. And then we ended up watching the first episode again, and then grinding the second, the third, short episodes. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then House of Dragon also. That's incredible. The words doesn't do it justice how good it is. So and then sports stuff like that, the huge.
For sure. I got baseball on the dock. Grey's Anatomy, running that for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
Very good show. Very good show. We're already almost done with season 3. Trying to think. We got the Netflix notification a couple nights ago. You know how if you watch too long, and you have to earn Netflix asking you if you're still watching. Like you have to put in a lot of time. I think we watched 7 episodes that day.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was a wild day of watching Grey's Anatomy.
I
awesome.
appreciate, like, I respect the grind. That's a huge grind.
It's a good grind. It's a good grind. I will say this, Frank, and I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I feel like a major asshole.
Why?
Every single Sunday I start seeing the tweets pop up. It's Sunday, Game of Thrones Day. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's Sunday, Game of Thrones Day. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm not part of that right now. Like, what the actual fuck is going on that I'm not part of that? I love Game of Thrones. The reason you're watching it is because of me.
I know, and that's the bad look.
And I feel like such a fucking asshole. I'm going to get this corrected. How many more episodes are there in this current season?
I don't know how many there are in a season, but we're through 4, I think.
What a fucking asshole I am. I swear to God, I love Thrones. And every single time, Dylan, he's got all the tweets. Dylan, you're nothing but dragons. What dragon is going to come out this week? In the first rendition of Game of Thrones, we had to wait 5 goddamn seasons to see a dragon at all. And now they're right in your face, and I'm not watching it. And I just,
it's
my own fault. I'm a relatively busy person. I have a social life, a relationship, 2 jobs. Like I'm not the most unbusy person of all time, but like I could squeeze in time to get this Game of Thrones.
Now you're going to be 2 seasons.
Maybe if I just get the fuck off Twitter every now and again, I could I'm done. I'm watching it. I talked myself into it right now. I'm over it. I'm sick and tired of I will be caught up. I'd like to jump in on this season. That would be nice. But I don't know if I have time. Frank, I've grinded a full TV show before, though. And, like, I don't know. I think I could do this. I think I could do this. I really do.
What's your statement? What do you mean? Like, what are you saying?
I will be done with the first season before July's over.
Wow. Okay.
And I hope that gets me to where I can maybe at least watch the finale.
You'd be, yeah.
But no, but I have to run season 2 a little bit, though.
Oh, yeah, shit. That's right. Yeah, you won't.
Well, I'm Vinny Parisi guarantee I'll be ready for opening night of season 3.
Oh, no.
Frank, I had to watch 7 seasons to be ready for season 8.
Yeah.
And I did it.
That's true.
A little more free time on my hands back in the old 2018, 2019 days.
That's true.
But I know how to make a grind.
I mean, it's not a crazy take because who knows when season 3 will be. I hope you can watch it within a year or 2.
Well, here's the thing. I fucking love Game of Thrones. It's my second all-time favorite show. Like, and the only reason it's 2 is because I didn't love the ending. Like, Breaking Bad's ending was perfect, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But I think Game of Thrones at its peak can go head to head McDavid versus Barkov type stuff, Manning versus Brady like type of stuff. Head to head, best 5 years of their career. Game of Thrones is right there. Right there. I actually saw this post. You'll find this interesting. I'm sure um, G would find this interesting too. This one person, they averaged every website's like rankings of TV shows,
Mhm.
and they came up with the greatest shows of all time based on the average of every TV show, like
That's pretty cool.
IMDb, Rotten
What is
Tomatoes.
it? What website
The
is it?
number one show of all time, according to the average of all these, is Breaking Bad.
What is the website?
There's no website. It's like a cumulative average of every website
I know
ranked.
how. What are you on?
I just have a screenshot of it.
Send it to me.
I could send it to you,
Send
but
it
the
to me
number
right
one show,
now while you're looking at your phone, so you
the
don't
num
forget.
I okay, the number one show of all time, according to this, is Breaking Bad,
Okay.
and number two, Game of Thrones. And
Okay.
when I saw that, it reminded me of knowing the Florida Panthers were sick, and knowing Pujols was going to break the home run record, and knowing something about this freaking brain.
And you're behind now.
Well, I think House of Dragons is considered a different show, and I'm not sure if there's enough episodes on there
Probably
to
not.
be considered. Well, here's the thing though, Frank. Number 7 on this list, Better Call Saul, the prequel to Breaking Bad.
Mhm.
It is fucking awesome. And I'm so happy it gets its flowers at number 7. They even got the Mandalorian at number
But
34.
but
I
there's
love
a
that.
but Better Call Saul had more seasons than House of Dragons right now.
Oh, Better Call Saul's
That's
done.
what. Well,
It's
you know,
over.
right? But that's what I mean. It has House of Dragons will get its love because it's good.
100%. 100%. 100%. Dude, I can't wait to watch this show. I'm pissed. I'm so mad at myself. And I'm mad at Joey too. Fuck him. Like
Well,
what it's partially his fault cuz we get together every Tuesday and watch the Star Wars show no matter what. Whether it's The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett. You know, me and Joey haven't lived together necessarily in like 3 years. And we have not missed a Mandalorian, a Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and now The Acolyte. The season finale's next Thursday or next Tuesday. You better believe me and Joey have seen every episode of that. With 8 o'clock on the dot every Tuesday, no matter what.
yeah,
He makes me dinner. I bring something over. We missed one, and then we made it up. That's how locked in we are. The fact that we're not doing this for Game of Thrones is a
it's
shame,
crazy.
and I'm pissed.
Yeah,
What a
I know.
joke of a human I am.
Well, there's
What
only
a
one way to
joke
fix
of a
it,
human.
right? There's
Yeah,
only one way to fix it.
100%. 100%. Um, I just got a very interesting text from
Okay.
one of my very favorite people. I won't even say very favorite friends, very favorite people in the world. Our buddy Nick Boss. Let's give a
Mhm.
hand round of applause for Nick Boss. We love you, Nick. Hope to see you Saturday. Would love to see Nick on Saturday.
I don't know. I have no idea what it is
Um,
or not.
Breaking Bad, he says, still haven't seen which means he's watching the show. Thank you very much, Nick. Still haven't seen Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. Shame on me. Yeah, I mean, I go by the logic in this world that nobody's perfect. Nick Boss is pretty damn freaking close to being perfect. That is a wonderful human being. I would jump in front of a bullet for that man. It's a joke that you haven't seen Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. Like, like they shit on me for not seeing Letterkenny. Well, at least I have started Letterkenny. I kind of
Mhm.
fell off a little bit just because of busyness and the frickin' Star Wars slash um, Grey's Anatomy grind that we've been on. But like, I'll get back to Letterkenny because I really did enjoy it. I am like 8 episodes in. It's not like I watched no episodes. I loved it. It's very funny. I can't wait to finish. But Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, Nick, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
go.
you
Well,
know what
you're a
else is
joke for missing Breaking Bad too, though.
yeah, but don't let me finish Breaking Bad before you finish House of Dragons because that would be a bad look.
0% chance.
Okay.
Yeah. None.
You know what else was a bad look?
For me?
When no, when I finished Game of Thrones before Joey finished Stranger Things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was that whole
Never will put.
debate.
Never will put faith in him in that ever again.
You guys made fun of me saying,
Yep.
"Oh, but you have 8 seasons."
Yeah, but I've since
Oh, yeah.
apologized, so don't be.
And then they still haven't finished, and I finished it. Now I'm gonna I lapped them with House of Dragons, and they
Yeah,
still haven't finished Stranger. That's a bad look.
that's a terrible look. Wholeheartedly nasty, for sure. I'm with you. Do you have anything on the NFL before we close out? Period 3.
Just looking forward to it. Nothing special. Nothing really has gotten to my head about it. I always look forward to football season. It's a special type of season. A lot of good grub, good snacks. The whole thing, the whole football season's just fun to look forward to. And we're getting there. We're getting close to preseason, right? End of August.
August 1st
Oh,
is the Hall of Fame game.
all right. Well, then there you go. We're like
Or
literally less
August
than a month.
2nd,
We're
whatever the
less than a month
Thursday
away.
is. Way less, like 3 weeks. Whatever the Thursday is. August 1st or 2nd, I don't know. It's one of those, and that is the Bears play the Texans in Canton, Ohio.
I
Should
can't
be
wait.
very cool. And then college football. Let's
Oh,
go
college
Huskies.
football.
They play Notre Dame early on. Probably going to have a bus, which Frank, you should join for that. Would you root
Maybe
for NIU?
against. Yeah. Why not?
Well, I would say less than 10% of the people on the bus will be rooting for NIU. Me, Mr. Boss, Jeremy, and Skylar are the only confirmed NIU supporters going on the bus. The rest are all Notre Dame. So we need some help.
I mean, yeah. I have no ties to Notre Dame. That makes me this big Notre Dame guy. Of
And
course,
you
I root
love
for you.
Maction.
Well, yeah, and I've always loved the Huskies.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Frank, you have to come. I'm forcing you to go.
Maybe.
There's no reason for you not to go.
And there's no reason for you to not watch House of Dragons, VP.
I
Get your shit
agree. I've been
together.
yelling about that for the last 15 minutes. No shit.
You need to be finished with season 1 soon.
Okay. Here's the
You
thing, though. When you
you
tell me
guaranteed
something
by
like that,
season 3.
I say okay and listen. When I
Okay.
tell you something like that, you say maybe.
Yeah, because I don't want to commit. You're going to commit and not come through. That's what I don't want to do.
Like when?
We'll see. We're going to
Like
find out.
when?
We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
X with you.
We're going to
X with
find
you.
out. That's all I
X,
got to say.
I'm Xing you. It's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week. Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
You'll be happy with this graphic a little bit.
Ooh, look at that. Welcome to Breaking Bets, brought to you by Rabbit Gaming. Brought to you by Rabbit Gaming, your premier peer-to-peer marketplace. Check out what they are building over at Rabbit Gaming. .com.
Yeah, so
Frank, the floor is yours.
we're back here. We got it back up to 50%. The MLB season's been great. 10-4 in the MLB. This is the time you want to be following right now. Got 3 more MLB picks for you today. Starting off with the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. 2 big titans in the MLB, and Phillies, they have a great team. But I've learned that anytime you can get the Dodgers at such a great price, go ahead and take it. The Los Angeles Dodgers got blown out yesterday, 10-1 to the Phillies. And they sat some players after they were getting blown out to conserve them for tonight's game. Gavin Stone is on the mound for the Dodgers, which is a great sign. So we got some good value on the pitching matchup as well. I love the Dodgers here to even up this series one apiece after such a defeating loss last night. Dodgers money line plus 120. That's some good value here for 3 units. I like that one a lot. Second pick, New York Yankees against the Tampa Bay Rays. Man, the Yankees are struggling to score, but it's only a matter of time before this lineup starts to get hot. Zach Eflin is the perfect pitcher you want to see if you're a Yankees fan on the opposite side of the diamond on the mound. For the Rays, he's the pitcher I think the Yankees could get hot against. Eflin gives up a lot of contact, and the New York Yankees fall in the top half of the league in terms of wins following a loss at 54.1% win rate following a loss. It may not sound like a good percentage, but that's also because they don't have a large sample size because they haven't lost a lot of games this year. So their sample size is a lot lower than a lot of other teams, and they still win more than lose after coming off of a loss. And I like this. I like it against Eflin. Very good value. The Yankees money line -105. We're only going to bet to win 1 unit though because of the way they've been struggling to score. And the Rays, they just seem to play anybody tough. They're one of those pesky teams in the MLB. Which leads me to my final pick. Got the Chicago Cubs and the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to double down and taking a stab at the same bet last week because last week it was my only loss. It lost by half. We're going to take Shota Imanaga under 5.5 hits allowed at +100. Last week, we lost by half. He gave up 6 hits. We're going to double down this week. I like that the under here is +100. There are not too many occasions this year where Imanaga's given up 6 or more hits. So we're going to double down there. The Orioles lineup is a tough ask to contain, but Tyon managed fairly well in game number 1, and I think Imanaga could do the same in game number 2. So Shota Imanaga under 5.5 hits allowed +100 for 2 units. That's what I got for you this week, VP.
Very good. Very, very good, Frank. That's some good picks. I hope you run the table and finally stay over 50% for once in your life. That wasn't nice of me. I'm sorry.
That stung. That one stung a little bit, but
I'm sorry. But it also was inaccurate because you were over 50% for all of last year and a majority of this year.
then I dip below.
Well,
That dips the highs and lows. It happens, man. It happens.
That's the name of the game, Frank. I enjoyed doing this show. I enjoyed this season. I hope everybody that watched, read an article of either of ours, interacted on social media over the last 8 months, enjoyed themselves. I hope Bardown helps bring a little bit of joy to everyone who watches life. It certainly brings joy to mine. I consider this my baby. I do a bunch of other podcasts, but Bardown is my baby. The one that I feel like I've solo invented. Like, and I'm not saying nobody else had a part in it because you play a huge role in it. Joey played a big role in it. Aldo played a big role in it. But Bardown is like my baby, and I take it very seriously. And I love doing it. I love having you with me to do this. You do a great job. Your insight that you brought this season was great. Your passion for your favorite team is intoxicating. I hope people realize that, you know, I like my team half as much as you like yours because you wear it on your sleeve and it's great. Um, and I'm excited for what the future holds. We got a lot of good stuff coming up with this show in the coming weeks. We're going to take a couple off, kind of recharge the batteries over the summer. Frankie's birthday is 1 week from today, so happy early birthday to Frankie.
Thank you, VP. Appreciate it.
And, when we reconvene in August, it'll probably be a different time. But, I think doing it in the middle of the day does hinder our live numbers a little bit. I think if we did kind of do it in like the evening or the later afternoon, I think there's a bigger audience there too, which could help, but it probably won't be on Wednesday. I think Monday would probably be a good day. I mean, we have a lot of time to talk about it and
Oh
figure.
yeah.
But I also tried to get in the ear of one Joey Parisi to see if there was ever a welcome back, welcome back type of moment. And he didn't say no.
Okay.
So we'll
Something to keep an
see.
eye on.
We'll see. But Frank and I will be here. I want to be ready by football season, like preseason. Like maybe not the first Hall of Fame game or the second game, but like I want to be back soon.
Okay.
More NHL news happening would motivate me even more. But, I'm excited about it, and I think we can only go forward.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So when we're saying episode number 167, it'll probably look and feel a tad bit different, but it'll be more of the same. Frankie's going to be wrong about Ovechkin. I'm going to be wrong about the Penguins.
You think so?
Joey's
Huh?
going to be wrong about probably just about everything. Because when you pick the Bruins to win the cup every single year and they don't win it, I mean, shit. The Devils will have more points than the Bruins next year.
You think so?
Yeah. So do the betting odds makers. No, they actually don't. I don't know if they think that. I don't know what the over under totals are right now. I just know they have higher odds to win the cup. But I'm excited. I'm feeling a little somber right now because knowing we're not going to be here next week does kind of suck. But I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that we're right back on the saddle soon. Like I love this show. It's my favorite thing I do. Like hockey media wise.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back.
We'll be back and better than ever.
Very true. Very true. All right, Frank. Do you have anything left to say before we head on out of here?
Well, everybody that's watching, have a fun and safe summer. Like you said, it's going to be a little bit before we see each other again, but when we reconvene, bigger and better than ever.
Absolutely. And the Southburbs Hitmen still every Monday night on the Barroom Network. You could still find me talking White Sox. And the rest of the Barroom Network is probably going to really start amping up as well for the NFL season that is coming up. Frank and I will be ready to talk football with you in the fall. Maybe even the late ends of the summer. We'll see how that goes. But the Barroom Network is still a great place. Make sure you turn on notifications, follow everything that's going on there. Make sure you follow Frank on social media. He's at the King Bean. I'm at Vinny Parisi. And for the final time of the 2022-20, no, wrong. Like the big X in America's Got Talent. For the final time in the 2023-24 season, we bid you a pleasant adieu.